And we are recording.
All right.
Yeah, I was.
So, Rob, what is this podcast?
All right, so I had, a bunch of ideas lined up how I wanted to start it in a very professional manner, and I totally just froze up and forgot everything I wanted to say. So we're off to a fantastic start.
Well, we could always stop, and then you could just say whatever you want, and you can cut this out later if you want.
Oh, yeah, I could.
But where's the fun in that?
Exactly. This is a completely unprofessional, no, like, nonsensical thing I wanted to do because I was on. My inspiration was Curtis Cook. He had me on one time, and I really liked just talking about random shit with him. And so,
Mm,
something I can do this, but with films. So, yep. I don't know how often I'm gonna do this. I definitely have a lot of ideas in mind to do, kind of over a period of time. Like, obviously, here we're talking about the 2018 film season. What have we liked? Maybe stuff we have not liked. Maybe stuff we agree on. Certain stuff we don't
mm,
agree on. But either way, I think it's gonna be fun. I think this will be a fun conversation.
hmm And we're about halfway through 2018, just over. So this is the perfect time to do basically first half of the year list is how I see this.
Definitely, yeah. So the way this is gonna work is that Van and I have chosen about 8 films each.
Yeah, I think I have eight.
All right, I know I chose 8. We're probably gonna have a lot of commonalities as far as the ones we chose, we want to talk about, and it goes in chronological order of each release. Van will talk about his film first because he's the guest here. I'll talk about my film. We'll go back and forth until it's done. And at the end of this video, we're gonna do what I want to implement in this kind of podcast series is the medals: a bronze, a silver, and a gold, labeling what are your 3 favorite movies of the year. Bronze being the worst as in third place. Silver second, and of course gold is number one because fuck you, gold is number one.
All right, sounds like a plan.
Yeah, it really does. Uh,
So shall we hop right in or
I just break it down. How about what have you th- what have you thought about the 2018 film season so far? Let's start with that.
um well, without spoiling my bronze, silver, and gold, um, I think there's been a lot of standout movies. But that being said, I think it's kind of top heavy. So there's a lot of really great movies that I really love, and then once you trickle down, I think it does start to fall off a little bit. I think that is typical though. The beginning of the year. Um, I'm sure later on, hopefully, some of my anticipated movies coming out more towards Oscar season will level this year to be more even with past years. Um, so far, some good movies overall. Not a great set of movies overall, but that's also to be expected considering where we are in the year. So overall, I think it's been pretty average.
All right, so this is the first year since 2013 where I have not seen over 20 movies at this point in the year. I have seen like 10. I've barely been able to get out and really watch. Like, I have a bunch of films I missed. Like, I missed Annihilation. I missed Love Song
Yep, me too.
Loved. I missed Ready Player One. A lot of films I wanted to see, but I just didn't have the time to. And like I said, I have like 10. And of those 10, I think the bronze, silver, and gold were pretty. I'm pretty happy with those 3. Those are easily the 3 best. Everything else I has averaged between being good to overrated to with only a few bad ones sprinkled in there.
hmm I try to not go see bad movies, but there was one bad movie that I did go see this year just so I could have a good time, which is what I did. Um,
I
so
so we might.
Rest in Park, Rest in Park, Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, you will not be mentioned today after this. So
uh,
enjoy your time in the spotlight, you god, just terrible, awful movie.
I almost saw that with my grandmother, but I convinced her to go see a different movie that we might end up talking about on this list. But
Who knows? We'll just have to
yeah.
find out.
All right, so Van, you're the guest here. What's your first film?
So this movie came out March 9th. So it's a little bit late in the year to have my very first movie, but I think January and February is usually just schlock season. Um, so my first movie is Death of Stalin. This is a comedy that was so apparently offensive that it actually got banned in Russia. And I can sort of see why. This movie talks about Stalin's family and his cabinet right before and after his death. And the movie is basically a dark comedy where those around Stalin sort of argue and try to gain power after he dies. Um, so it's very historically, or I don't know how accurate it is historically. I'm not very knowledgeable about Stalin, but I can say it was really, really funny. It was directed and written, I believe, by Armando Iannacci, who is the guy behind Veep. I don't know if you've seen any of that.
I have not. I haven't been exposed to Veep. I know of it. Everyone loves Veep, but
Yeah, I've only seen a couple seasons, but you can definitely see the similarities. So this movie is basically Veep if Veep was in Russia and it was with communists that were struggling for power. But anyways, I know you haven't seen this movie, so I won't
this was
really spoil anything.
this was the one movie I knew you're gonna. I remember you mentioning the death of Stalin earlier in the year.
Mhm. Um,
What?
yeah, some standouts from this movie are Steve Buscemi um, and Simon Russell Beale, who is a British character actor. But anyway, just an example of the sort of dark comedy that happens in this movie. Um, or Stalin dies, obviously, and he's just laying there on the floor. And they spend a good 10 minutes just trying to pick him up and move him into his bed. And they're all not trying to spill him, and they're all just arguing. Um, I think this movie won't work for a lot of people because there's a lot of subtle humor. Um, it reminded me of The Office too, in parts.
That's always a good comparison. With is it's kind of like The Office. It's like
Yeah,
about positive right there.
yeah, it's definitely a positive. Um, yeah, just a very dark delve into Russia. Basically, just making fun of the cabinet and uh, some jabs at the party. Um, yeah, sort of hard to talk about when you haven't seen it, but um,
I'm definitely interested in seeing it though because my favorite genre or maybe subgenre of comedy is dark comedy. Like I think
mhm,
The Nice Guys is one of the funniest movies I've seen in a long time, and
agreed.
it's full of stuff that maybe you shouldn't laugh at. Or a better example is Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Fantastic movie.
I loved it, but there were moments where I was losing it in the movie theater. I'm like, I should not be laughing at that in any sense. But
Mm,
my God, I couldn't stop laughing multiple
mm,
times throughout the billboards. So
mm,
I'm definitely eyeing on Death of Stalin. If I have the opportunity to watch it, I will.
mm. Yeah, Death of Stalin. Um, I guess it's similar to those two movies. Definitely more on the comedic side than Three Billboards, and probably similar to The Nice Guys in terms of the amount of comedy, but definitely a different tone. Yeah, definitely check it out. I think it's already on Amazon Prime in United Kingdom, which makes me think it'll probably be on American Amazon Prime eventually, hopefully.
Yeah, probably.
We shall see.
Mm-hmm. We shall see. All right, so the first film I want to bring up is this small little indie movie called Black Panther.
Hmm.
February 16th. It made like $1.3 billion worldwide.
Worldwide, it's like approaching, I think, 700,000 or yeah, I heard domestically, which if it breaks that will be the highest grossing superhero movie of all time, I think maybe.
It might currently be the highest grossing superhero film domestically of all time. I'm not entirely sure, but so anyway, Black Panther was released February 16th, directed by Ryan Coogler, who made the excellent Fruitvale Station, and especially
That's
Creed.
yes.
Creed was one of my actually Fruitvale Station was in my top 5 of 2013.
Oh wow.
It was in my top 10 of 2015. The dude did not miss, so that's the main reason why I was so excited for Black Panther, along with the fact that you have Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther, who I thought was the standout in Civil War, not Spider Man, to
Yes.
everyone's, you know, surprise.
Well,
I thought Black Panther was the best new character. And then
yeah,
you
sure.
add in that he's reteaming with Michael B. Jordan, who I don't think who was like easily the one of the best actor combos in today's world.
Hmm.
And when you, especially when you add that Black Panther is the best rated superhero film on Rotten Tomatoes with a 97% approval rating.
Yes, which, um, yeah, I enjoyed Black Panther. Well, I'll let you finish what you have to say
No,
first.
it's fine. So, is Black Panther the best rated superhero film of all time? No. Dark Knight is superior. I think that there are a few of the other MCU films that are far better than Black Panther.
Maybe some we're gonna mention later. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I think another indie Marvel film came out this year too. Slight success.
Uh, yeah.
But no, I really liked Black Panther. I saw it the first time I think a couple days after it came out, and I remember enjoying it a good deal. I thought
Mm,
the characters were really strong. I thought that the world, the Wakanda was amazing. Chadwick Boseman,
yes.
especially Michael B. Jordan, I thought stole Black Panther. I don't think I will. Black Panther would not work half as much if we didn't have Michael B. I'll get into Michael B. Jordan a bit more later on, but I liked it the first time. And then one of my friends who hadn't seen it, she's big into the MCU films. We saw it again 3 weeks later, and I liked it more. I did like
Mm,
a bit more on the second viewing, and my main issues with Black Panther are I thought the action scenes are very underwhelming.
mm,
Like
mm.
other than like the close combat waterfall scenes, which should we get into spoilers for this? I mean, it's been out for.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, you're living under a rock if you haven't seen this movie.
But
So
yeah, I
just
thought
go ahead and spoil it.
I thought all the waterfall fight sequences were great. I liked the tracking shot in the casino, and what was it like China? But I thought the third act was so MCU generic. Let's have a
Mm,
big battle with like freaking CGI rhinos with armor on them just charging. Is like, okay, you just took away all of the great political like aspects that you had going on in this film, and that's the main reason why I like Black Panther. The political
mhm,
undertones and the characters. I think that Chitala is one of the most interesting MCU leads for the fact that he's not like Tony Stark. He's not like Doctor Strange. He's not like Cap. He has his own identity as far as the way he presents himself. He's this mighty king. He's learning to be king. He's trying to take over from what his father had done. And I thought the characters around him, whether his sister or his assistants, I thought all of them were great. But it really comes down to Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger. I think that Michael B. Jordan, I mean, maybe Slight Sport is the second best MCU villain we've ever had, in the aspect that I completely understood his motivation and I agreed with his motivation.
mm.
How did you feel about Killmonger?
Um, yeah, when I came out of the movie, everyone I was with basically had the same reaction as me, which was that it's not close to being the best superhero movie of all time. It's a fine Marvel movie, probably in the upper middle of the Marvel movies. Um, and almost everyone I was with said Killmonger is the standout. And I thought he was fine. I thought he was good. I mean, Michael B. Jordan can do no wrong. Um, I guess I didn't think he was fantastic. I don't know if I would call him, one of the best Marvel villains ever.
Mm-hmm.
Although maybe because Marvel villains in general aren't that strong. But I can definitely see why people like him so much. I
Like
guess since we're in spoilers, when you really know this dude is legit, is basically he has this girlfriend, and then um, he's in a situation where um, who was the character that Andy Serkis plays? Is it
Claws.
Claw? Claude. So thinks that he has Killmonger on the ropes because he has his girlfriend basically hostage, and Killmonger, without hesitation, just shoots her.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this guy like is so focused on getting what he wants that he basically just like started this relationship just so that he could have uh, give his enemies fake leverage later on. Um, and
See,
I know that this,
sorry.
I was going to say, the scene that he has with his father, like the flashback scene in Oakland, that was definitely powerful. Um, but then again, it sort of just breaks down in the third act, I feel like, where everything that the movie built up, and this applies to Killmonger too, it sort of just ends in the, CGI magnet train battle. And then I guess he has a nice moment when he dies, and you're like, oh, it's too bad that he couldn't. It's
See,
too bad they couldn't work this out.
I don't blame any of that on the character. I think that was just the way that like Kevin Feige probably thought, oh, we need to have the big Marvel battle at the end.
Mhm.
I remember sitting in a theater with Killmonger, and everything he was saying, I was like, I completely agree with everything as far as him saying we have to open up to the world. We have to spread this technology that can help so many different people around the world. We can literally change the world. We need to stop isolating ourselves. Now, the action obviously he's the villain, so he has to be, genocidal maniac.
Mm.
You can't have a villain without being a genocidal maniac, but it's like I completely agree with everything he was saying. And I remember at the very end where, the big CG magnet battle, I was like, okay, this is fine. His death scene I thought was almost Shakespearean,
Mhm.
because like I re- it's the first time where I watched a villain die and I was upset. I was
Mhm.
genuinely upset that Michael B. Jordan's character was gone. Obviously, because he's a great character, but everything he stood for, he completely believed. And he had this amazing quote. I don't know exactly how it is, but it's like with the black slaves on the boats, bringing them from Africa to America.
Mhm.
CinemaSins took off actually a cent for that quote and everything on Black Panther. And I agree, it's such a fantastic quote. I think it sums up the character so well. But beyond Michael B. Jordan, I could talk about Killmonger pretty much this entire video. I feel, but I thought Chitala was great. I thought the political stuff in Black Panther is what worked the most. And I feel like if they'd taken out the final third act battle and literally just had Killmonger and Black Panther sit across the seat and talk discuss politics in like a Quentin Tarantino style, been like the best thing because it's like I was so into the political dialogue and it feels like the movie cut out so much of that at the end. That's really one of my biggest issues is that third act kind of derails the rest of the film, which I thought was fun. It had some nice little action and they had great characters for sure. And I thought the World of Wakanda was fantastic.
Mhm. Yeah, I guess I'll talk about some more positive aspects before I really dive into the final third. I guess speaking of the final third, I mean, it's hard to not have a big battle at the end of a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree they probably could have figured out a way to incorporate the battle more smartly or less dumbly. But
Like
anyway, I'll
like
talk.
when you
I'll
watch like the final act like the first Avengers movie, that's like 30 minutes of like perfection
Yeah,
as far as the
it's like
diversity of action.
it is a big dumb battle at the end of Avengers, but like every scene is something new happening. You can follow what's happening perfectly. Nothing doesn't make sense. I mean, obviously, there's aliens coming out of a like portal. Nothing makes sense. But as
And
far as
this
like within the context of the universe, you're never questioning what's going on. You're
and
never
it's
taken out saying that's dumb. And I just unfortunately found myself in those situations watching Black Panther. Um,
another thing with Avengers is that the special effects. Oh, I just rewatched the film last night, and the special effects still in the Avengers are amazing.
mhm.
CG in Black Panther is not good.
No,
It
I think
is trash at times.
Marvel put all their CG people onto a secret culmination project in May.
Like the worst special effect was they go to the cliff for his like inauguration and him defending the throne or whatever, and you got that
Mhm.
cliffside of all the people standing there. I was like, is this out of a '90s GameCube? Like it was like PS1 level graphics of awfulness.
Of just like green screen.
Of green screen, yes, and the people they look like little rubber people. Like I'm gonna flare my arms and like dance, do the hula hoop dance, And it's like
Mhm.
you guys are so much better than this, especially when you had another Marvel film come out with amazing special effects.
Mhm. Yeah, that whole waterfall fight, I agree with you that the choreography was great, but the whole like scene, just something seemed off to me.
Which one is
Um,
it? The one with Killmonger or
I guess both.
okay?
Um,
I'm
I mean,
not.
he's like, someone challenge me, and someone comes up and like challenges him and like loses. Like, I guess there never seemed to be stakes
Hmm.
with the fights.
See,
I mean, I never thought like, I mean, I knew that T'Challa wasn't gonna die because we literally saw a trailer for Infinity War before Black Panther that fucking has T'Challa in it. I don't know if
yeah,
I'm allowed to swear on this podcast, but
Van,
and speaking,
I've dropped an F bomb at least once. You're good.
all right. Well, speaking of stakes, well, I mean, I'm thinking like at least they're not going to try to like kill T'Challa in the movie to have like suspense, but then they actually do. Killmonger throws him off the waterfall, and for like 20 minutes, the audience fucking thinks he's dead.
See,
It's like
I
you do
like that.
realize you just showed a trailer, but like I understand that like his sister and his mom or whoever thinks he's dead, and that's fine. But the audience clearly knows he's a. I don't know. I mean,
The reason that scene works for me is just because we had them in a the villain like at 100% has the upper hand. I didn't think Killmonger was gonna beat him in that fight. I straight up did not expect him to beat him, especially in a more brutal fashion than what most MCU films really allow. I feel
mm,
like it got a bit bloodier at times. I'm like, okay, I appreciate what you guys are doing. My biggest issue with that was I know we've been taking a lot of time on Black Panther, but some
yeah, that's fine.
here. The editing. I'm not a huge fan of the way Marvel edits their action scenes. So I was like, all right, we do a cut here and a cut here. They do so many cuts, and when you watch something like The Last Jedi, you have that throne room fight, and
Mm-hmm,
those beautiful, wide, long takes where you see Rey and Kylo fighting those guards. It just looks beautiful. Just you can see every frame and every swing and every motion going on with the Marvel action scenes. It's like there's a lot of quick cut editing, but then
mm-hmm,
Paul Greengrass, who I think it's pulled off in a really effective
mm-hmm,
manner. And yeah, with those specific fight scenes, I thought the editing is what kind of killed them.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Bourne Ultimatum or the whole Bourne franchise was both a blessing and a curse. Where these directors say, "Holy shit, look at this fast cut fight
Mm-hmm.
scenes. We don't have to choreograph anything. We can just have a guy throw a punch and then cut, have him throw another punch, cut, and throw it all together in post, and it'll be fine." And that can work, but I think it can also be sloppy and lazy.
Well, I mean, the
Um,
thing with the Bourne franchise, so you have Paul Greengrass who knows how to direct shaky cam action. Like, I
mhm,
don't think anyone is on the remote same level as far as the way he directs quick cut, shaky cam action. Because I, I'm able to follow all of those action scenes and they look beautiful.
mhm,
It's like they put you in the moment to where I feel like I'm there in that fight scene with the way the camera is shaking all that action. But I don't think and I guess we can I can talk about the Russo brothers when you watch like Winter Soldier or like the first action sequence in Captain America: Civil War, they're definitely pulling a Bourne feel with the action scenes. But even though I think it's handled well in Winter Soldier, with Civil War, I feel like they try too hard to be like, let's shoot 50 different scenes and cut it 60 different times, and it's like you guys aren't Paul Greengrass. I'm sorry, but
mhm.
not to get off
Um,
on a tangent, but.
yeah. Although, well, yeah, never mind. This is not about Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, to wrap on Black Panther, again, that third act, there's just so much that doesn't really make sense. Like they're fighting on the top of a hill, and then this ginormous tribe of thousands of people just sneaks up on them somehow without no one noticing. Same goes for the rhinos, the just god awful CGI rhinos.
I will say Mountain Freeman saves the third act.
Yep, yep. I was gonna say we'd be remiss if we did not mention Martin Freeman, who redeems his basically worthless character from Civil War. That had me wondering. It's such a shame that they wasted my one of my favorite actors, Martin Freeman, in Civil War. But I'm glad that he actually had more to do in this
I
movie.
didn't think he'd be as good as he was in this. He was great.
Yeah,
It's like I didn't think he'd have that big of a role. It's like, and the thing with Black Panther, I think that Killmonger's the best character, but it's
mhm.
like I would put Shuri above Black Panther. I would put Mountain Freeman above Black Panther. I think Black Panther is like the third or fourth most interesting character in his own film.
In his own film. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
but
that's
it's
not
not.
to say he was bad either,
No, he's like
because
I
he was
think
really
he's a
good.
really good, charismatic lead character, and I like how different he is from any of the other MCU leads. It's just that's the thing that Black Panther exceeds so well at is character and the story.
I think part of what it is I think T'Challa is best when he's out of his element and interacting with other Avengers. And
Hmm.
like you said, he's the standout in Civil War, and I agree. Because when he shows up, like in that highway chase, and
Oh
he's
my
like giving
god.
Cap a run for his money, he's like so awesome. But in this movie, which ironically he's like less exciting in his own movie, because instead of being that like cool side character that shows up and is just awesome for like 10 minutes, I don't know. I guess I don't know what it is. Maybe him being the like protagonist, there's just like the writers had to.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know what it is,
All right, so
but
we've spent a lot
anyways.
of time on Black Panther. So what's your second film, Van?
So my second film is a movie called Love, Simon, which came out
Yep.
on March 16th.
I'm so
So
mad I missed this. I wanted to see this one so bad.
all right. Yeah, you definitely should see it. Um, I'll keep my description shorter than Black Panther since I don't want to accidentally
I
spoil
mean,
anything. Anyway,
literally everyone saw Black Panther, so
yeah. Um, so I'll give you the basic premise.
yep.
So Love, Simon is about a boy named Simon who's basically a normal high school boy, except he's struggling with the fact that he's gay and he's having a really hard time coming out because he's worried what his school friends will think, what his parents will think. And in the midst of all this crisis going on, he learns that another kid at his school is gay, but he doesn't know who it is. So him and this other kid are both anonymously sending each other emails, and they're sort of bonding over their mutual struggle. Um, and that's sort of the main plot, I guess. But in the background is just a lot of good comedy with him and his friends, going to parties, and just the school dynamic, him trying to keep everything secret.
Hmm.
And he has all these different quirky friends. Yeah, it was a thoroughly enjoyable movie. It was really touching. Unfortunately, the ending of the movie doesn't entirely work for me. Um,
I heard like whether it was Chris Stockman or maybe Jeremy John said that the movie is so good, but then there was something involving a bully that doesn't quite hit the way they probably wanted it to.
you said a bully.
A bully, yeah. Is that what you're referring to?
I mean, there's a lot of characters that can be interpreted in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe.
Okay.
Um, but anyway, once you see the movie, I'll tell you exactly what my problems were. I mean, it wasn't bad. I think it was just a little bit underwhelming. Um, what I will say about this movie, I promised I wouldn't mention Jurassic World anymore, but I have to revoke my promise because Nick Robinson will no longer, for me, be the annoying older brother in Jurassic World because he actually does a fine job playing Simon in this movie. Um, and I thought he was really great. And also, the girl who plays Hannah in 13 Reasons Why is in this movie.
Van, I want to say one thing for two things actually. Second, fuck you, 13 Reasons Why season two, and I had no idea she was British.
Yeah, well, does she do
Like
an American accent in 13 Reasons Why?
she does.
I think she does in Love, Simon as well. But I do think I saw an interview of her. after watching season one of 13 Reasons Why.
Van,
You know that.
I'm not even kidding you. Like the first episode, they had the cast come on, and they start talking about the show, or whatever. And the moment she's talked, like my biggest takeaway from season two was that promo. I had no idea she was British. I was like, wait, what?
Just the fact that the actress is British is more exciting than the entirety of 13 episodes of the show.
Oh man, I could talk. I could break down why I. It ruins the first season.
Oh no.
Season two
Yeah.
ruins the first season. Not saying this the first season was great by any means. I enjoyed it, but
Yeah.
some of the stuff is like, what were you doing? Like,
Yeah.
why? Okay, love Simon. That's supposedly good. That's supposedly good.
Love Simon is worth the watch. I have friends that have like varying opinions on this movie from like totally loved it like me, including the ending, had no problems with it at all, to thinking it was just totally for kids and campy and stupid. So if you ever get the chance to see it, let me know.
All
But
right,
yeah, that was my second movie that made my list.
all right. So the second film I want to bring up was released April 6th. A little film called A Quiet Place
Mm.
with John Krasinski, Emily Blunt, a little boy, and a deaf girl whose name I do not know.
Yeah, it does. Who cares?
So this is, if I'm not, I think this is like one of the top 10 best reviewed films of the year. And
Yeah.
I was like a month. I saw this at the end of my semester, probably like mid May. I saw A Quiet Place, and what I'll say about it, I think that a lot of its reputation holds up. It is a very well acted, very well directed, and tense atmosphere of a film, almost ruined by a horrific ending. And I'll get into the ending in a little bit, but I was shocked that John, how good of a director John Krasinski is. Because like you see, like, oh, that's the guy from The Office, and then you see 13 Hours, like, oh, that's the guy from The Office, but jacked. And then like, oh, this is the guy from The Office who doesn't talk.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the best aspect of A Quiet Place is the sound design or lack of sound design. Because I remember watching and like how quiet everything was in the theater. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna like this, but like there was a moment as seen in the trailer they knock over a lamp, and the impact of that lamp hitting the ground scared the shit out of me.
Yeah. I wish that wasn't in the trailer, but oh well.
Yeah, you know,
What can you do?
they actually did a good job at Actually, I wish there were a few things that they put in the trailer, but overall, the trailer was actually really well constructed as far as hiding what the creatures looked like. I like the creature designs actually. I thought they're not,
At least
you
I was
know,
gonna
that
say at least they didn't put the creatures in a TV spot. Oh wait, they did.
they did.
I'm pretty sure I heard that they did. Like
Oh,
days before the movie was released. Like the marketing was doing so well, everyone was hyped for the movie. And I didn't actually see the TV spot, but I think I
no.
heard it was like one of those TV spots where at like the last like half second of the TV spot it like shows it like screaming or something.
Oh, so it's like
Because
the not the last Jedi, Force Awakens, where they just sent out literally 60 TV spots showing you like the entire film.
yeah, exactly.
All right, but
Because people weren't gonna see it already.
oh wait,
Those extra TV spots are really gonna make the difference.
but no, I thought A Quiet Place was really well executed. I thought that all the acting, especially from the deaf girl, it really helps that she actually is deaf and real,
Is that
really added to the authenticity of it. I thought the family dynamic worked incredibly well, and I thought Emily Blunt was great in the movie. I mean, Emily Blunt's great in everything she's in. I think it's hard to deny that. And I don't exactly have a whole lot to say about this film, but if we're gonna talk spoilers, the ending to A Quiet Place is
yeah.
it made me mad. It actively pissed me off. Now, I'm not saying I wanted a big bloody action sequence, but give the movie an ending. Give the movie an ending. She cocks the shotgun and it just ends. and it.
Yeah.
Okay, I get ambiguity of it, but it's like at least showed him going, getting away or going away, But it's like I thought it was a cop out, to be honest. I thought it was an absolute cop out. And A Quiet Place is one of maybe two or three other films to where the ending of the film really derails the rest of the film for me.
Hmm. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I wasn't really sure how the movie was going to end throughout like the entirety of the movie. I was hoping it wasn't going to have a big dumb ending. Like I was hoping they would at least try to do something a little bit clever, which I have to give props because they did what I was hoping for. They didn't execute it like I was hoping, or it didn't happen exactly like I wanted to, I should say.
Hmm.
But they at least tried to do something like different with the ending, which I did like respect. Um,
Maybe
I
a
mean,
second viewing will help my opinion of it because I
mhm,
I know what I'm getting into. But no, the first viewing I left really unhappy with it overall.
yeah. Um, Overall, this movie was a little bit underwhelming to me. Kind of like, I think I sort of had a bit of Black Panther syndrome with this movie, where going in, it was like best horror movie in like decades. It's like the Get Out of 2018,
See, I don't
most
really see
original
this
movie
as a
ever.
horror movie. I see this more
Well,
a thriller.
yeah, it's definitely a thriller, but anything that could be remotely seen as a horror movie that's somewhat decent, they're gonna market as a horror movie. Um, yeah, I would agree. It's not. Yeah, it's definitely a thriller. I guess my main problems with this movie are the ending didn't quite feel right, um, and I actually think this movie at some points explains the world a little bit too much when it doesn't need to. Like there's a scene where John Krasinski is explaining to his son how they're safe, like by the river,
Yeah.
and I get that in the context of the story, he's explaining it to his kid, but it's such like a thorough explanation. It's like I really think the kid would have got it without you taking like 2 minutes to explain it.
Well, I
And you
mean
just
that's
know,
that's just a massive plot hole too. It's like if they can't hear you around water, live by the river, so you don't have to be quiet all the time.
yeah,
And another
yeah,
thing
I guess so.
that really drives me insane is how do they have electricity? Electricity. I can't talk. How do they have power? Or
Yeah, see that guy.
how do they have cellular reception? Is it like someone at like an AT&T sitting there making sure, all right, you know, girl at the house has her Snapchat running so she can send the Snapchats of how afraid she is, and I don't know. I didn't buy the
Well,
fact that they had power and all that.
do they ever actually use? I didn't see them use a cell phone ever.
I
I
th-
get they had like radar, computer kind of monitors. Um,
I think there was like scene where I think there was a scene where they actually no, they don't have a phone. I forget. I forget. I guess I forget the scene, but there was a moment where I thought to myself, "How do you have reception?"
because they definitely show like I know they show like TV monitors of like attack sites or whatever, but yeah, all that stuff with the electricity that didn't really bother me. I guess I just figured like don't think about it too much. It's not like a serious movie. Just like accept it.
Yeah. But despite my few little qualms, I really do like this film. I think it's strong. I think that it's a great debut. I mean, this doesn't feel like a film debut by an actor for the very first time.
I think
This might be the best film debut I've seen since Nightcrawler.
I think he has directed some like smaller movies that like weren't, but yeah, for like a wide release.
Okay, if that's the case, maybe. But no, Quiet Place, very strong. Maybe the ending would be better for me over time, but that is my second film.
All right, all right. Um, my third film was an animated movie by Wes Anderson called Isle of
I
Dogs.
missed this one too.
Yeah, um, yeah, I was lucky enough to see this kind of early. I think I stood in line for almost an hour, and like a lot of people didn't get in. But anyways, so Isle of Dogs is a animated stop motion movie, very similar style to Fantastic Mr. Fox, if you've seen that.
Yeah, I have.
which, oh, you don't like it?
I hate it.
Oh, what? Really?
I hate Fantastic Mr. Fox, despite what everyone thinks. No, I thought it was funny the first time. I rewatched it the second time, and none of the jokes landed for me. And
Well,
I haven't seen a lot of Wes Anderson. I do like his style. Like, I think Moonrise Kingdom is quite good. And I think that there were moments in Grand Budapest Hotel that I laughed my ass off. And I feel the need to like mimic at times in certain situations because they're that good. But
mhm.
no, I really did want to see Isle of Dogs, but I'll let you continue.
So anyway, at least the animated style is very similar to Fantastic Mr. Fox. So this is a story of basically it's in Japan a while ago. I don't remember exactly when, but basically there's like this political party that's anti-dog, and they like deport all the dogs to this random island, and it's like the story of all the deported dogs on the island like trying to stay alive. And I think this is all in the trailer. Um, and then there's
Alright.
this boy that somehow also gets marooned on the island, and basically he sort of befriends the dogs, and it's just this nice little story about him and the dogs trying to find their way off the island, um, trying to find their way back home, and um, try to repeal the basically try to fix the situation and get the dogs back. Um, it's basically the most like bland explanation I could give of the movie.
Yeah.
Um, I actually walked out of this movie a little bit disappointed, just because I think it's one of Wes Anderson's weaker films.
You're a lot familiar with this filmography than I am too.
Yeah, I think I've seen all of his stuff, and so I was a little disappointed walking out of the movie. But as time goes on, I guess I realized that doesn't mean this movie is necessarily bad. It's definitely very charming. Um, it's funny. It's heartfelt. Um, yeah, it's just not one of Wes Anderson's strongest movies, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm struggling to talk about it without getting into spoilers. Um, I will say there are a couple characters who are focused on in the movie that I don't think really add much to the movie.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel like that's an issue with like most Wes Anderson films, though. There are certain characters that are like, okay, you're in
mhm,
it, but you're not necessarily adding a whole lot to it.
mhm. Another thing with this movie is I'm just going to bring up the cast really quickly.
Bryan Cranston,
Um,
Walter White
oh
himself.
yeah, he's great in the movie. So yeah, I mean, I was just like shocked by how many like actors are in this movie. Um,
Oh yeah.
but I've actually heard people say it was like distracting to them because a lot of the characters are kind of bland, which I think is sort of the point of some of them. But it's just kind of strange when like like, oh, that's Edward Norton. But anyways, so this movie has Bryan Cranston, Edward Norton, Bill Murray, Jeff Goldblum, Greta Gerwig, Frances McDormand, Harvey Keitel, Scarlett Johansson. Basically, every single dog is like, oh, it's that person, which is impressive and just something. I was almost like laughing in the credits, just like at how I guess what like Wes Anderson can just do whatever he wants. He can just hire anyone.
I mean, like
Um,
everyone is Bruce Willis in the movie?
I know he is in he he dabbles in Wes Anderson, but I don't see him on the front page of IMDb.
I guess
Yeah, I don't.
Edward Norton is definitely a Wes Anderson usual. Like,
Also, Tilda Swinton, Ken Watanabe is in this movie.
oh, Ken Watanabe.
A bunch of Japanese people that I don't
Indian
know.
fight. But
Uh, but yeah, so go see Isle of Dogs if you want to try a different, fun animated movie that's going to lose to Incredibles 2 at the Oscars.
yeah, well, we might get into that a little bit later, but
Oh, okay. I, well, yeah,
all right. So that was your third film.
that was my third.
All right, I'm losing track already. This is bad. Um,
You,
so
you need your third. Yeah.
the My third film is a film that underperformed at the box office, despite the fact that everyone really did enjoy this movie. It's called Avengers: Infinity War.
I missed that one.
$2 billion at the box office. If you are, you're one of the two people on the face of the planet who missed Avengers. My dad
Yeah.
doesn't, who's never seen an MCU film, saw it in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
But no,
Back.
Avengers: Infinity War released April 27th. I had the privilege of seeing this film in IMAX for the first time. Not my
Me too.
the first time I saw it in IMAX, and this thing is an achievement in film.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Like I understand. Like one of the complaints my mom said was there wasn't really a whole lot of story or plot going on. It's like, yeah, it doesn't, but you have 19 other films that lead up to this, and the fact that you spend 10 years with 18 films building up to this one moment
Mm-hmm.
delivers on almost every level I really wanted it to. Like that's unheard of. It's unheard
Yeah.
of.
So this is my number four movie also. So it's next for
Mhm.
me. So I can also talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many people. I think there was like maybe a New York Times article where this guy was complaining that the movie has no like story. There's no character development. Nothing makes any sense. And it's like, I guess if you don't know who anybody is and you just go into it, but that would be like just watching the Breaking Bad finale and saying it's bad because who the fuck is anybody? It's like it's the
Why is he
19th movie in a
bald?
franchise. Why is he bald? Why is he killing people? Why did everyone say this is so great? It's fucking god awful. But yeah, you sort of touched on this too. As enjoyable and fun as this movie is, what it is to me mostly is just damn like impressive.
Hmm.
And the credit goes both to the Russo brothers for making the film itself enjoyable. Um, but I mean, as much as we bashed Kevin Feige for basically making safe movies, like with Black Panther, you got to give him credit
This is
because,
this was the this is the farthest thing from safe. You have literally almost every single important key character in the entire Avengers franchise, and you use every single character as they needed to be used.
mhm,
Every
I think this,
single character is in the exact moment where they need to be. They're in the section, they're with the group of characters that they need to be with. Like,
mhm,
saw Doctor Strange, we want to see Tony Stark and Doctor Strange talk. What do we get? Tony Stark and Doctor Strange interacting with one another. We have
mhm,
Thor going with the Guardians, which provides some of the best MCU humor ever.
mhm,
Like every
yeah,
moment with them, I was dying, laughing my ass off. And then even this very small, maybe less significant stuff with Captain America, Black Widow, and Black Panther, it's all there, and it does add to the story. Just you know they're gonna have bigger roles in the next film, 100%. But I think the way that every single character is used is perfect.
mhm, yeah. I guess what I meant by safe is like for instance, Black Panther. We suspected that maybe Ryan Coogler was discouraged from not having a big action battle at the end. But you can tell that while maybe some of the earlier MCU films are frustrating, it's worth it because you can tell that this movie is where it was going. And
Hmm.
this movie, you can tell they're not afraid to take risks because they don't need to build up to anything anymore. Like, this is it, which is why they, spoiler alert, can kill characters. And I'm not talking about the end, I'm talking about the deaths that actually matter.
The first 5 minutes of the movie, my jaw
Oh,
dropped. I
I mean, right off the bat, I mean, I guess starting now, we can talk about Thanos,
Yeah,
who the not only is this movie able to take the 20 plus pre-existing characters, put them all in a movie, and none of them feel um, like none of them feel like they didn't get like screen time.
yeah.
I think I watched a video where it shows um, all the characters in the movie in order of the screen time they get, and some of them it's like Bucky has 2 minutes of screen time.
Hmm.
It does not feel like it at all.
And it's like
But
most of that, he probably doesn't even have 15 lines.
yeah. So, but anyways, not only is this movie able to juggle all these 20 characters, but the best part or the best character isn't even one of those 20 characters. It's a new character who is the star of this movie, has by far the most screen time, played excellently by Josh Brolin, is Thanos. Um,
I was praising
he's,
Michael B. Jordan's performance as Killmonger.
mm,
This is Thanos is the best villain since Heath Ledger's Joker.
yeah, mhm,
I don't
I would agree.
think there's even a comparison.
Yeah, well,
It's,
I admit, well, yeah,
what? No, no, go on.
Thanos isn't even my favorite villain in this movie because it
Oh,
can't
okay.
be Squidward or Ebony Maw, who is
No,
so
no.
awesome in this movie. And I saw this movie 3 times, and like the second 2 times, because everyone would make fun of me for how much I love this character. When he gets uh, when he gets the aliens queen stunt pulled on him, every time I threatened to just leave. I was like, this isn't worth watching anymore. Why why am I here?
Okay, I wouldn't say I had that much of a connection with Squidward, but I mean, like, obviously, going back to Thanos, it's like
Yeah.
we have this character that you've been building up for 6 years, ever since you saw his face um in the first Avengers.
Yes.
And my one fear, I said this to my friends who from college, like, the one thing this movie cannot, it can do everything else wrong, but Thanos has to be a great villain. Thanos
Mm.
has to deliver, and I think Thanos surpassed everything I wanted it to be. This
Oh yeah.
guy is a genocidal maniac, sociopath that I felt empathy for.
Mm-hmm. You're like, I mean, I wouldn't kill half the population, but like everything he says makes sense.
It does. It makes absolute sense. And when you explore his backstory, it's like, of course, that's how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, of course, this is why you're doing all these awful things. And despite him being this genocidal maniac, the dude has honor. Like,
Mm-hmm.
final confrontation with Tony's spoilers at this point on. I mean, if you
Yeah.
haven't
I mean,
seen
come on.
Infinity War, I mean, you know,
What are you doing?
his final confrontation with Tony Stark, where, we think he's gonna kill him. He looks at him, and goes, like, you're a great man, Stark, whatever. I hope people remember you when you die. And it's like he has some genuine compassion for Tony Stark in this odd, strange way.
Mhm. He choose to let his enemies live because
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't want to be the deciding factor. Like
No.
when he snaps, he wants that to decide.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone deserves the 50-50 chance in his view, and he's like he believes what he believes and he's loyal to it like 100%.
And the scene where he kills Gamora, my heart
Mm,
broke, and it wasn't because Gamora died. It was because of Thanos' reaction.
hmm
Because it's like he genuinely loves her, and I bought that. I bought every moment of his pain, and
hmm
I just can't believe the way they got Thanos. Like, Josh Brolin is amazing. It's like it's probably the best motion capture performance since anything Andy Serkis has done.
Sure. hmm
But no, Thanos is just everything I wanted it to be.
hmm
Everything. I said Thanos has to be the best Marvel villain. I said that about Ultron. That didn't work. But
And
Thanos
it
has
shows.
to be. uh,
And Avengers 2 will go down as a unfortunately misstep in the MCU, and Infinity War will not.
like I
And it
say,
all comes down to the villain.
we might be discussing Age of Ultron in more depth, maybe coming soon.
Maybe.
Tease? I don't know. But other aspects about Infinity War is like the okay. If I'm gonna get out like maybe two complaints, the movie
Sure.
does feel jumbled in the editing as far as it doesn't necessarily have a smooth flowing story. It's kind of like here's this portion, then here's this what's going on. We're going back to here. Oh, this is also going on. But I also didn't like the action sequence with Vision and Scarlet Witch and what was it, Russia? Is that where they were?
They weren't in Russia. It was
Well,
like
like
Serbia or Belgium or one of those like
I
European
did. I
countries.
was. I didn't like that action sequence. I feel like you could have cut that out. Is it important in the movie? Yes, it is because Vision gets his forehead stabbed and he's like defenseless at that point. But I feel like you could have definitely shortened it up, if not cut it out entirely.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, I mean, you're like
Especially when
required
you
to care about Vision and Scarlet Witch or oh, what's her name? I should know this.
which Olsen something. No, no, that's
Oh yeah, I mean it's Elizabeth Olsen, but I mean
yeah,
like the actual
yeah,
character's name.
yeah.
But anyways, you're like you have to be able to care about the relationship in order for later on in the movie to hit. And I actually sort of did.
I actually really did. I think that I didn't like her in Age of Ultron, but I loved her in Civil War.
Mhm.
That they did a lot of fantastic stuff with Scarlet Witch in that film.
Yeah. Um,
But like as far as like I feel like that action sequence just I didn't care about because literally every other action scene in this film is amazing.
yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
New York sequence was awesome. But
Oh my word.
the Wakanda sequence, I remember thinking to myself, this is the return of the king of the MCU as far as the sheer scope of it.
Mhm.
I felt like I was watching the Pelennor Fields with superheroes.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
exactly how.
I mean,
And then the stuff on Titan with the Guardians, Iron Man, and Spider Man. It's like the fight choreography is some of the best I've ever seen, maybe in any film ever. Because all of those superpowers are being used with Strange teleporting Spider Man in different portals, or the way Iron Man and Star Lord come in would give him a few blasts and quickly jump off. It was so well done. It was so well done.
mhm. Yeah, and a lot of these movies, like like Wonder Woman, is another movie that suffered from the third act. And you can tell in these movies, like I can just imagine the script saying like insert CGI battle here, make sure Wonder Woman doesn't get scuffed up or anything.
Yeah.
But like in this movie, you can tell that like yes, it is a big dumb CGI action fight, whatever. But at the same time, every shot in it you can tell is like meticulously planned out, and it
Oh
it
yeah.
shows. Like you said, every you know like the fight never gets boring because like
Because
this is Infinity War. We
involved.
we have to have a 10-minute fight between Thanos and all these heroes. Like how do we keep the audience invested? And it's like they come up with so many imaginative ways to have these characters fight each other, and it's like
And
really impressive.
it also adds that you're so emotionally involved.
Yes, because when characters start dying, you're like, oh, this shit's
Wait,
getting real. Like anyone could die.
like, let's just jump to the ending.
Mhm.
Snap. I remember when Bucky faded, everyone in my theater went silent. It was
Oh yeah, me too.
complete silence. And, like, you see Chitala fade away, you see Groot fade away, and, and then Spider Man. I'm not
Oh,
one of those people who say, "Oh, I cried when Spider-Man faded away," but that scene hit me. It hit me like a freight train. As you have this character,
yeah,
they built his relationship so well with Tony Stark and Spider-Man: Homecoming. In the way in the first 10 minutes of Infinity War, Tony and Pepper talk about, "Oh, we want a kid. Maybe we want to have a kid." And I look at Peter Parker, I'm like, "That's Tony's kid."
hmm
Tony, he's the father, he's the Uncle Ben in his life, and when Tony's holding him in his arms and he says, "Mr. Stark, I don't want to go," it just hit me on an emotional level I did not see coming.
So the first time I saw this movie, when everyone starts turning to dust, I was so busy thinking to myself, like, why are they bothering to do this? It's so obviously not final. Like, that's what I was thinking the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
And that's obviously true. That I didn't really just sit back and watch like the scene. So the Spider-Man dying didn't really hit me. I was just like, oh, there goes another one that's going to come back. But the second and especially third time I watched it, I just put all those thoughts in the back of my brain and thought, all right, let's just watch this like as the characters would watch it, and actually just imagine like these characters, they may come back, but in this moment they think they're gone.
Yeah.
And Tom Holland's performance, like the second and third time, hit me like a lot more. And I think he did a great job. And I think the like everything, like I don't want to go, I don't want to. I'm pretty sure that was all improvised by Tom Holland, is what I heard,
Oh
which is
wow.
very impressive. Another interesting tidbit is Groot's last line. He looks at Rocket and he says Groot. Apparently in the script, because they actually, even though all he says is Groot, they
Mhm.
do actually give him lines. And I guess what he says in that moment is he looks at Rocket and he says, Dad.
Oh my
That's
god.
as he's fading, just reaching
It's
out to
like
his.
it's like pulling my heartstrings, why don't you? But I know like so like everyone's fading away and everyone is just shocked. And the final shot of Infinity War where it's just Thanos sitting on his little cliff watching the sunset go and there's no music. It goes to credit and like there's no music. It just says Thanos will return. And it ends in such an atypical MCU fashion that you understand this is the dour ending. This is the opposite. This is the Dark Knight ending of the MCU, where there is some hope left that you can scramble, but the villain won. This is the first movie where the villain won, other than the Dark Knight, in my opinion, anyway. You could argue Black Panther.
Empire.
I mean, as far as like Thanos reached his goal, half the population is wiped out, half of the Avengers, oh, gone. We don't know where they are. But no, the
But Doctor Strange knows where they are.
Doctor Strange will know because he saw all those
it was
possibilities.
it was that one in whatever possible chance.
I know. I wish he would have. There were five. It's like realistically, you think there'd be more than one outcome if they for them? Like at least say there were seven, just to put like a weird number out there and just be different. But you say one, like oh, there's only one way. The stakes are high. Yeah, that's like a
And
small
the other thing
nitpick.
was the denominator. It was like I forget exactly what it was, but it was something really weird, like 300 million and five. I was like, what kind of number is that? There's like six zeros in that number. Like you could tell. Yeah, whatever.
But no,
Yeah,
just kind of sum things up. Infinity War is an absolute triumph in filmmaking. It is an achievement in filmmaking that I have not seen in years.
mm-hmm.
I think that it's insane that it's 83% on Rotten Tomatoes. This should
Oh,
be
it's a
early
tie.
90s to mid 90s. I think that this film is a spectacle we've never seen. I and I don't know if this is anyway, I really like Infinity War. I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. It's flashy.
I think in terms of scope, it's maybe the most impressive thing we've seen since Revenge of the King. And in my
Revenge of the
opinion,
King.
as great as Infinity War is, it does not touch Return of the King.
No,
But anyway, we're not talking about Return of the King.
I wish we
Um,
were.
it's really a shame the critics bashed on this movie for not telling a story that they wanted it to tell because they did not understand this movie clearly. And it shows in the Rotten Tomato score, and it's just really unfortunate because this movie was not about telling a story that you could understand if you'd never seen these characters before. It was about culminating a many film series,
Mm-hmm.
and it was about meeting widely unreachable expectations and actually surpassing them.
Yep.
It was about meeting a villain that you would actually care about and that could carry a story um, a villain that could carry a story that has Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America in it, and it succeeded.
Yeah.
Um, it's not a perfect movie, um, but I mean, I'll be damned if it's not like one of the most impressive movies that I've seen in years.
All right.
Just based on ambition, not
Yeah.
necessarily artistic merit, but ambition.
Ambition, scope, and it really is an emotionally satisfying film. And the best thing about Infinity War is I don't know what direction they're going for in Avengers 4. I genuinely
Yep.
have no idea what they're going to do. And that's like the best compliment I can give.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that was my number 3, and that was your number 4. So, you want to go again?
That was also my 4. So, uh, why don't you do your 4? I think that would make the most sense.
Alright. So we get off a comic book movie to talk about another comic book movie because these things are so popular these days. Deadpool 2.
Deadpool 2.
So,
Another movie that I left off my list, sort of in assumption that you would have it.
yeah.
But
So, so
anyway,
the first Deadpool was one of my favorite movies of 2016. It for my personal top 10 list, I always like to save the number 10 spot for what was the most fun film I saw the entire year, and that was the first Deadpool. I laughed so much in that film. Like, not every joke landed for me, but I thought the film was, from start to finish, absolutely hilarious with, like, some of the best meta, self aware jokes I've ever seen. And it was just a wonderful experience. So I went into Deadpool 2 with, decent expectations. I wasn't, dying to see Deadpool 2 necessarily. And while I think there are amazing jokes in this film, the more time passes, the less I remember it.
mm,
Deadpool 2 is not a bad film by any means. I think that it's a fine movie. It's a fine superhero comedy with incredibly amazing moments as far as the humor goes. I can barely tell you any of the action scenes in here. Like the action scenes
yeah,
don't stand out, the character moments don't really stand out, and I think the worst decision they made was one of the reasons the first Deadpool is so special is that the romance and the relationship between Deadpool and Vanessa is so authentic, and you buy that these two effed up people would fall in love, and she's just not here. She's just gone, and that
mm,
bugged me.
yeah. I agree with basically everything you said. I came off. I walked out of the theater on a high just because it was so fun. But at the same time, I wasn't thinking to myself, "Oh, what a fantastic movie!" I was thinking,
It
"Yeah,
was a
that
good
was
time.
fun. I had a great time. Probably not going to make my best of the year list.
No, not even.
Probably not going to get any awards. It was just a nice, fun comedy. You said you couldn't remember any of the action scenes. I do remember like the first couple, just because I was so like, oh, here we go, like we're getting dark. Like he's exploding people and cutting off limbs. Um, but then I agree, like towards the middle of the movie, um, and even the last, like the climax was a little bit underwhelming.
I thought the jail sequence dragged. I thought
Yeah,
the
I would agree.
sequence was so long, and that kid is obnoxious. I
How do you think so?
he's supposed to be flamboyant. I thought he was annoying. I didn't find him charming. I didn't like the character. I thought that it was grating more than anything. And I did not and because I hated that kid, I did not care about the ending to that film. And at any stretch of the imagination. I just did not care. I wanted him to die. I thought to myself, if they kill off this kid, I'll be happy. And they did. I'm like, all right, I'll be less happy.
Yeah, Julian Dennison is his name. Have you seen Hunt for the Wilder People?
No, but you've recommended it to me multiple times.
Yeah, well, I won't recommend it again, but I think since I've seen it and I went into this movie already like a fan of this kid, which probably made me a little bit more accepting. And I think he
Mhm.
does have like funny moments in the movie. Like when he's in prison, he says he pulled the pen out of his like I forget what he says. He's like
Yeah.
he's like basically his like butt pouch or whatever. But I agree, as the main villain of the story, I don't think he really holds up.
Mm-mm.
Um, yeah, some great moments in this movie. Um, like when
Like
it's revealed that
what are some
Brad
like,
Pitt is the invisible guy, and that whole sequence where they all just die is just fantastic.
okay, if we're talking about moments, so you build up the X Force, and they're in the plane, and you're building up this team he united. What's the regular guy's name? Okay, I have to look this up. I can't remember who. Just the best
Who
character
just
in Deadpool 2 is just the random guy who pops up and just wants a job. And he's the only character that Deadpool remotely likes. And that's like the best part about the film. Is like we have this randomly obscure guy who just wants a job. He has glasses. He has a beard, and he's just gonna kick ass. And so okay, well, what is his name? Because this is actually bothering
is it
me.
Peter? Is it
Peter.
Peter?
It is Peter. Peter is. Oh, I love Peter so much. But you build up this team. They're jumping out and they start playing. Thunderstruck by AC/DC gets you pumped up. Deadpool lands.
He's like, let's go, guys.
When as they were dying one by one, I was actually crying. I don't remember the last time I laughed that hard watching a scene in the theater. Like I was laughing far into the moment when that scene ended. Minutes later, I was still laughing. I could not stop myself, and it's just the different ways they get each character to die, and the way Peter dies. I just love. It's just so dumb.
So good. Um,
And I love how at the end of the movie, like he goes back in time to this moment, and the only character he saves is Peter. Cause like,
I actually forgot about that. But
but yeah, like the X Force people dying. I thought the James Bond opening credit sequence was great.
oh yeah, and the end credit scenes.
Oh yeah, he shoots himself and he kills he kills the X Men Origins Wolverine Deadpool, which is like what every fan could have possibly wanted. But I think
Mhm.
next best joke, and it's a joke I should not have laughed at, is when he's in the mansion and he's on Professor X's chair. He's like going like, look at all these paintings of old white dudes. Better get my rape whistle. Oh my god! Like other than the X,
Yeah, I mean,
I thought that was the best joke in the film.
rated R movie, terrible jokes. I mean, you know what you're getting into, and you either like it or you don't.
And
And
like,
yeah,
even though I didn't care about this film as much as the first Deadpool, I don't think it's remotely as charming or memorable. It still has a few really solid jokes. I still like how they have the balls to just do whatever they want. We can put in
yeah,
this white guy rape joke without caring. We can have all of these gay moments between Deadpool and Colossus. Will not care what anyone has to say. And show Ryan Reynolds' penis on screen. We will not care. And
he's a grower, not a shower.
that I almost forgot the scene where he has those little legs and he starts walking up to Cable. I was losing my shit, dude. Oh
Mhm.
my god, it was so good.
Yeah, I'll agree with you in terms of just like losing it in the theater. I mean, probably the last movie I've laughed this hard at in general was The Big Sick, but I didn't see that in theaters,
Hmm.
and I cannot tell you the movie because I didn't see the first Deadpool in theaters either. So in terms of just like actually like laughing, just in general, this movie's up there. But at the same time, a lot of it is sort of just like cheap jokes. But
Yeah, it's like let's just drop an F bomb and people will laugh. Like which is something the big
it works.
fun of.
Yeah,
But no, like the film is fine. It has some great moments. It doesn't live up to the first film. I'm still excited to see a third Deadpool because I love being in that universe where they can literally do anything they want and they just don't give enough. But yeah, that was my fourth film in case you didn't have anything else to say about Deadpool 2.
Yeah, I think we can leave it there.
Okay.
So my number five is a movie I'm pretty sure you haven't seen. So I thought I'd throw it on there because I thoroughly enjoyed it. So American Animals came out on June 1st, and I was able to catch this movie at Railroad.
This is a movie.
So yeah, you can look it up. It's called
This
American
this
Animals.
is the first time I've ever heard about this.
Oh, really?
I thought you were like quoting like something you saw in like a TV commercial. American Animals,
Oh,
the new brand of whiskey. This sounds like a brand of whiskey, but sorry, go on.
so without spoiling too much, this is about a couple of college kids who are sort of just like hating life, and decide to try to pull off this heist of this uh, basically this college art gallery that has some famous books, and they decide they're going to steal them and sell them and make like $1 million or something like this.
Yep.
And it's really interesting because in the movie they have, along with the actors, because this is like a true story, like the tagline of the movie is like, this is not based on a true story, this is a true story. um, so they would cut constantly between the actors and the actual people that did this,
Mm-hmm.
like today, um, which was both good and bad because it was really interesting to actually like get the real life perspective so you could actually realize that this happened. But also the fact that they were able to do these interviews at all sort of gives away what's going to happen, because you sort of think to yourself like, obviously they don't entirely get away with this considering like there's a movie about it. So it was kind of strange in that sense. um, yeah, I'm trying to think what else to say without ruining it. uh, who's the actor? Oh yeah, Barry Keoghan is in this movie. um,
I see
he's
Evan Peters from X-Men.
Yep, they're the two leads in the movie.
I'm
uh,
looking at the soundtrack and I see Rage Against the Machine. I'm like, all right, that's pretty cool.
yeah. um, I don't know if you saw I, Tanya.
I missed that one.
Well, it reminded me a lot of that, where both movies, you can tell that the movie or the writers didn't know exactly what happened realistically. So
Mm-hmm.
instead of guessing, they like present multiple different instances of what could have happened,
Oh, that's really
which did get tedious,
okay.
which did get sort of tedious at times. But at the same time, you could tell they really wanted to make sure that um, they got everything as correct as possible, or if not, they at least presented like what may have happened. Um, but yeah, both Evan Peters and Barry Keoghan were really, really good in the movie. Um, yeah, really tense, and just a really interesting, different movie, I guess. It's too bad you haven't seen it, but
So this is the first time
yep,
I've really heard about this film. So,
I'm sure it'll probably be on Netflix or Amazon Prime or something.
all right.
Definitely not
Oh,
one of the strongest of my 10 movies, but something really different, and I'm glad I saw it.
I'm about to add this to my list right now. Is that
Thank.
all you have to say about that one, or?
Um, yeah, considering, yeah, just a recommendation.
So my fifth film is a film that you saw before me, and you gave me a warning, even though I was not prepared for it. That'd be Hereditary.
This is also my next movie on my list.
Yeah. So, um, I don't know. I feel like we can't discuss Hereditary without talking about the ending.
feel like we can give our general thoughts and then give a spoiler warning.
All right. So, all the marketing said that this is the best horror movie of, all time. This is the best since the
Mm,
you will see this movie and it will change your life on horror movies. And the way you described it, I thought perfectly cements it. It's a really creepy family drama.
hmm.
And
That's what it is.
I think that when Hereditary is a creepy family drama, it's really good. Like there are moments of great tension and atmosphere that completely works. It just keeps building and building with an amazing best of the year performance from Toni Collette. Like she
I will say, well, sorry, I'll let you continue.
no, I'll let you finish your thought there.
All right. Well, first of all, I agree that, I mean, right from the start, it starts with that excellent opening that you can see in the trailer, where
Yeah.
you see that everyone's living in a dollhouse. And you are thinking, like, oh, what is this? Is this literal? Is this like a metaphor that I'm going to have to figure out? But you don't have time to really think about it because the movie just starts. And right from the bat, you could tell that something's just not quite right with this family. I mean, they seem normal ish, but you can just tell that something's off, and it just keeps building and building and building and building. And by the end of the movie, when it really kicks into gear, you are just like clutching your seat.
See, okay. You're
Some people,
gonna have
some
different
people,
views on the ending, I think.
yeah, yeah, um, yeah, we'll get there. But yeah, there is like one performance so far this year. I mean, everyone's saying, "Oh, Michael B. Jordan's going to get nominated," or "Josh Brolin's going to get nominated," which obviously he's not. Um, Neither of those actors probably are. But anyway, in my opinion, there is one performance so far this year that is so far above anything else I've seen. It's just not even close, and that is Toni Collette.
Toni Collette, she's a far beyond most of the stuff I saw last year. The way
Yeah.
she portrays grief is unlike.
Oh my god.
It is amazing. Like th- she has a freak out moment at the table, chills down my
Oh
spine.
god.
Could not. And there's a moment where she breaks down after a sudden event happens. Heartbreaking. You feel
Can
every
we just
ounce of her pain.
can we just talk about that event? Which, if you've seen the movie, you know what we're talking about.
Let's just describe. Let's do a bit more vague film, then really delve into spoilers.
Okay.
So the one
Um.
thing I really appreciate Hereditary, this is a densely layered film where literally every single plot point or any notion of something brought up connects to the story.
Mhm.
It's going to matter and it's going to be very important. And admittingly, there are so many small details that I did not catch on the first viewing, and I would be interested in going and revisiting film just to pick up on those small little details that added to the ending.
Mhm. Yeah, there's definitely moments where like lines that seem like throwaway lines or lines that have different meanings the second time you watch. Um,
Have you seen?
I know this from watching. No, I wish,
Okay.
but I was made aware of this by some other reviews that I watched of the movie, and then I thought like, oh, holy shit, that's true. Um, but yeah, I mean, Toni Collette is great, but also, I mean, everyone in this movie is great. The daughter is like super creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
See, like
the son,
I hated Alex Wolf in this movie.
really, I hated him at first, but then by the end, I was able to sympathize with him, and like towards the end, I thought he was great.
See, I
Um,
thought that his performance and character was so tonally off from everyone else that it felt weird. It's like, oh, this is, the stoner brother. And it's like weird things are happening to him. And he has this cry scene that is awkward. Like, he goes,
oh, really?
yeah, oh, I hated it. I thought to myself, wow, this is, especially when you're in a movie with Toni Collette giving the performance of her career, it's like, this doesn't even compare.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, like the dinner table explosion.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell. I mean, the dad too. shoot, I think it's Gabriel something or Gabriel Byrne, I think. But him and Alex Wolff, you can tell are just there, like witnessing the greatness that is Toni Collette and just trying to match it. And
Give
they
it up,
can't.
Don. You're right.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they're not good. Um, yeah, I don't know. I thought Alex Wolff held his own. He doesn't have a chance of like awards or anything, but I thought he held his own. Um,
So, all right. I think we can get into spoilers now. All right.
yeah.
Spoilers in three, two, one. Holy shit! The child died.
So, speaking of like tension building, the first biggest release. Well, it all starts. I mean, there's tension in this movie like constantly.
Mm-hmm.
But the mom like forces the kid to go to the party. And then you see the nuts, and then she eats them, and you're like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? Gets in the car, starts driving, and then you think like, is she gonna die in the back seat? Like before they get to the hospital, like what's gonna happen? And then it happens, and it's like by far the most shocking. I mean, talk about Gamora dying. Like, fuck that. Like, this was the most shocking thing I've seen in the theater this year, like by far.
Really?
Like, oh yeah, like when the like telephone pole happens,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't just go like, holy, like, did that just happen? Like, did this movie just go there?
It's like the trailer makes you think that the film's gonna revolve around this little girl, and she's not. She dies in like the first 30-35 minutes.
Yeah, like ended the first act.
Yeah, it's like the movie takes directions that you don't see coming that completely work. Like
Mhm.
death and like Toni Collette's reaction.
Oh my god. I mean, first of all, Alex Wolff's reaction.
Yes, that
He
that
sits
was
there.
him a genuinely good moment from him.
He sits there and he's like, "Oh, just please, like, let this be a dream. Like, I can't. I'm just gonna drive home and go to bed. Like, please, just be a bad dream." And like, part of me was saying, like, you have to tell someone, right? And part of me was like, I mean, can you like even imagine?
No, I couldn't.
I mean, I bought totally what he did. And there are people that complain, like, "Oh, how come he didn't like go to jail?" It's like, first of all, the only people that
Accident.
it was an accident, and who's going to report it? Um, but I mean, and then he wakes up, and you can just hear Toni Collette going outside, and you just have this lump in your stomach because you just know that any second she is going to shriek,
Mm-hmm.
and she delivers. I know there's some people complaining about how you see her like crying, and then it cuts to the funeral, and she's crying like the exact same amount. You know, like what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
People said
that's a
that
complaint.
was like, yeah, people said it was like unintentionally comedic. There's a lot of things that people said were unintentionally comedic, and I'm like, what are you talking about? So that was one of them, but I totally bought it. Like, I didn't see it as she was crying that much, like from like she wasn't crying that much between the scenes,
No,
but
no.
obviously going to the funeral would like re-invoke those emotions, so it made total sense to me that she would reach that level
I,
again at the
I,
funeral.
like your 10-year-old, 13-year-old daughter just died, of course, and you're at her funeral. Of course, you're gonna be losing it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, come on. I think that's a completely unfair judgment. All
Yeah,
things subjective, that's completely unfair.
yeah. And there's another moment where at the dinner table explosion, she says like, "Get that," or like that face on your face, or she says
Hmm.
something like that. And that was another thing people said was like unintentionally funny. And it's like,
No, like
it's
the table sequence is one of the best scenes of the year. To me, that's
oh, speaking of,
the movie.
I mean, speaking of things this movie excels at, the cinematography in this movie,
Oh my
it's
god.
every shot is perfect.
You
I mean,
could
the
take any
composition,
you could take any frame, hang it on your wall as a poster.
mhm,
It's just dripping with atmosphere and incredible lighting.
There's a towards the end of the movie, there's a scene where Alex Wolf wakes up and he walks into a hallway.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like, do you remember like the hallway shot?
Yes.
I was like, I'm so tense right now, but I just need to sit back and just like stare at this hallway shot that is being presented. Like, and that was like every other shot in the movie was just like incredible.
Like
Speaking of like, or I don't know who lends this movie, but the director, Ari Aster, he's made some short films, but this is his first like movie.
yeah. The director is, I'm gonna butcher this name, Powell Hogozi,
Uh, you mean the cinematographer?
cinematographer. Yeah.
I was gonna say because Ari Aster is the director.
And no,
Um,
the cinematographer doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. So,
no, I usually go on IMDb.
oh well, I'm on
Uh,
Wikipedia right now because I'm like sub level of like intelligence. But
yeah, I mean, this is the one movie so far this year where I can actually talk about hoping for like awards consideration. I mean, above the line, like Infinity War is going to win visual effects or whatever. But
mhm.
in terms of like cinematography, editing, acting, directing, picture, like those awards that actually matter, I think this is the only movie, at least in my opinion, that like merits like discussion so far in these
All right.
categories.
So, the thing that bothers me about Hereditary
Mm-hmm.
is the last 10 minutes because
Okay.
you have this really subtle, creepy family drama that I realize it's building to explode. But I feel like once the explosion happens, it's so jarring and almost feels out of place. Now, let me describe my viewing experience watching that. When he wakes up and it's this beautiful long shot, and it's just him laying on his bed, and there's a moment where light comes in the room, and you think you see this figure in the corner, and
Oh my God.
once I saw the once I saw the outline of it, I said out loud, Jesus Christ, are you kidding me right now? Like that is single handedly one of the scariest things I've ever seen. And like the
Just since we're on spoilers, are you talking about the mom in the corner or the daughter in the corner?
daughter in the corner.
Who are you talking?
No, the mom.
I guess that was. Oh, okay.
No, the mom.
Because earlier in the. Okay, yeah.
No, like her in that corner. Like there's no jump scares. There's no music. It's just a non-moving frame, a still frame, and it's the scariest thing I've seen in years.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
he gets up and he's walking through that hallway. And I remember my stomach just clenching, thinking, where is this gonna go? And he gets out in where is his like living room area?
Hmm.
And
And he sees the dad.
yeah, he sees his dead father. And you know Tony Collette is somewhere. She is
Hmm.
somewhere in that room. And you see this figure standing behind him, smiling. At that point in the movie, I stopped watching. I was looking at the ground. I could not take it. I was like, I don't want to be watching this. I do not want to be watching this right now. And it's like the music builds. I think at this point the music's building and it cuts out and you hear Tony Collette drop to the floor and the movie just goes, I think it goes off the rails personally.
It definitely
That's
goes off the rails, but I'm just not sure if that's such a bad thing. But
it didn't work for me.
mm-hmm.
Oh, it's like I respect anyone who loves it and hates it. I don't. I'm more in the middle of like
Mm-hmm.
I understand it was building to that, and I understand it had to happen, but I'm not sure if it was like the best way to do it necessarily.
I yeah, it definitely didn't have to go in such a like big release, but I think the movie earns it. Um,
It does. Like again, I'm so conflicted on the ending. That's like, I completely understand what you're saying. It's like, but I don't quite agree with what you're saying. If that makes sense.
mhm. Yeah,
Because like the moment
yeah.
where he gets stuck in the attic, and Tony Collette starts bashing her head. I
Oh, it's so
At
great.
that point, I looked up after not watching that scene for maybe a solid 45 seconds, and when I looked up, I saw her bashing her head. I thought, what the fuck is going on right now? And he's like, "Mommy, stop! Mom, stop!" And it just cuts out. And I remember at that point, I'm like, "All right, I was looking down, I had my hand blocking my eye so I couldn't see the screen, and it's just like this weird silence. And again, I had no idea what's going on, and I hear this sound. It's disgusting. The sound is absolutely disgusting. And I hear the sound begin to crescendo and escalate, and the entire time I had no idea what was happening. I didn't find out what happened in that scene until you told me when I messaged you when I got out.
Does this involve a saw and a neck?
Yes.
Yeah.
The scene was posted on YouTube, so I finally saw the ending to Hereditary, now a month later, and it's the way the direct what was it, Ari Aster?
Ari Aster.
Aster?
Mhm,
The way he builds the Saw sound with the music is amazing.
mhm.
Like she sawing her head off, and the way it's paralleling the action, it's incredible.
And at first, I mean, during the scene, I wasn't really sure what was happening in terms of like plot, but I didn't really care because I was just like soaking it all in. But it actually makes sense because like, so Paimon, his goal is to inhibit a weak male.
Yeah.
The grandmother wanted to give it directly to Alex Wolf, but as Tony Collette explains, she never let the grandma near her son. But then with her daughter, she was a little more accepting. And of course, the grandma didn't want the daughter, but she said, I'll take what I can get. So Paimon is in the daughter, which is why she's so creepy. And then the only way Paimon can escape is by getting his head cut off.
Do
So
you
they
think
devise
that
this
she's
whole,
actually allergic to nuts though? I don't think she has a nut allergy because whenever she takes bites of chocolate, it sounds like there are nuts in those pieces of chocolate.
really?
I don't. Did you catch that?
I don't know if that was intentional. I mean, I sort of interpreted that, yeah, sure, she had a nut allergy, but that it
The
didn't really like matter in the scheme of the movie.
the thing with
The
this
only,
film is that it's so layered, and you can have so many theories, and there are so many
mm,
plot points that connect at so many different moments that you could sit down and break down Hereditary for an hour, and you still
oh yeah,
get everything.
oh yeah,
And
for
that's
sure.
filmmaking at its best.
Hmm. But and then the girl's head comes off, and then Paimon is just like waiting for the chance to enter the mom. And then when Gabriel Byrne starts burning, that's the moment where she suddenly becomes so distraught because
Hmm.
Paimon can only enter like a weak like being.
Yeah.
So that when she has that moment from screaming to just like nothing,
Oh my
which
god.
is by the way, like give her the Oscar or at least a nomination. I'm scared she's not going to get it. But anyways, like that's him entering her. And then she cuts her own head off, and then it enters him. So it all makes sense. But um, yeah, I cannot wait to revisit this movie now, knowing what I know. And like speaking of things that have different meanings, the second time you watch.
Is it mental
So
illness? Is it not mental illness?
yep, that's another thing.
That's gonna be the
And we haven't.
biggest debate.
Um, so Ann Dowd is like Tony Collette's like friend that she meets in therapy.
Oh my god, that reveal.
Yeah, it reminded me of like Get Out um, when he sees the
Alright.
pictures of.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, so Tony Collette mentions her mom in the therapy session, and then in the parking lot, Ann Dowd says, "Hey, I remember you from your mom." So the first time you watch it, you think, oh, you remember her because she mentioned her mom in therapy.
Mm-hmm.
But then the second time you watch it, you realize, oh, like she was actually friends with the mom, and that's why she said that.
Yep.
Just a lot of little things like that. And we haven't even mentioned the miniatures that Tony Collette's constantly working on and
Like,
what those represent.
I want to get into all of this stuff, but there's just so much.
Yeah, we've talked.
But
There's so much to talk about.
over, so
And
just sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say, it pains me that this movie has a D plus cinema score. I think part of that
Yeah.
was the marketing. I mean, people said this movie like wasn't scary, which first of all, what? And second of all, like that wasn't really the point of the movie. Like, say what you will about the last 10 minutes, but anyone that denies that the first however many minutes is not just like exceptional tension building, I just cannot understand. But,
And that's the best I can say about Hereditary is that it builds tension so incredibly well while delivering an effective gut-punching family drama that
mm-hmm,
I think is exceptional. And
mm-hmm,
I I appreciate Hereditary more than I really like it. I feel like if they had changed the last 5-ish minutes, I would have liked the movie better. I can't tell you how they should have ended it. I can't tell you what I would have changed, but I do know that it's like,
it just didn't land.
yeah, it just didn't quite land it for me. But
Yeah, but that's fine.
the first two acts, big thumbs up. Big thumbs up. Incredible cinematography. An amazing performance. Really creepy, tension filled atmosphere. That is a incredibly densely layered film that deserves to be analyzed and dissected for years.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's just one of those films that I didn't connect to fully.
Yep, that's fair. So, all right, I think that was another overlap. Wait, what was that for you?
5.
Okay, so that was my six. So then why don't you go ahead and do your six?
Alright.
Oh wait, sorry, wait. One, two, three, four, five. Yeah, that was my six.
Alright, so a movie that I think every single person. So there was this film that came out in 2004 that everyone loved. And they're like, what? Okay. Can't wait for the sequel
Mm.
in 2 years. 2 years pass. Okay. It's not here, maybe in 3 years. Next year, 2007. Hasn't come out. 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 14 years later, we get The Incredibles 2.
Yes, we do.
The fact that it took them 14 years to make The Incredibles 2, and we got sequels like Cars 1 and 2, Monsters University, we got Rio 2 before we got Incredibles 2 is sinful.
Yeah.
It's sinful.
I mean, I guess I don't mind the wait that much because like I for one am not someone that thinks every movie like demands or deserves a sequel no matter how good it is. Like just because they made a Cars 2 sequel doesn't mean Incredibles 2 necessarily deserved the sequel in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like if Brad Bird didn't think he was ready, then like don't make the movie. Like if Brad Bird doesn't think it's gonna be good enough to make, then don't make it.
Yeah.
So I like fully believe that he really wanted to make sure they had it right. Um, whether or not the result is as worth waiting for is something we can maybe discuss, but I am not
So,
going to complain about the wait.
so, how about talk about the first film? I know you like it a lot more than I do.
Oh yeah, um, definitely one of my top 3 or 4 animated movies of all time. It's just like so much fun. I mean, it's so quotable. Like every scene is either like touching or funny or action packed. Never drags. The characters are great. They all have great arcs. I mean, it's really deep. Like this movie goes into themes of like murder and adultery. and
Midlife crisis.
midlife crisis. Um,
She thinks he's having an affair with her when he goes off to
yeah,
his
right.
job.
Hmm.
It's the epitome of a non. It's the epitome of an animated film made for adults
Hmm.
that can appeal to kids.
Yeah.
So I really like the first Incredibles film, like everything you mentioned. The fact that we have superheroes and their powers mean something and are used efficiently is something I can't praise enough. Because you have some of these superheroes, they have these like really weird powers, but they don't add anything to the action scenes of the film. With the Incredibles, every all the powers add to the action, and the
Mm-hmm.
choreography, all the choreography for those action scenes are impeccably done.
Hmm.
But again, I don't.
Yeah.
It's probably in like my top five Pixar films. I don't. I mean, I wouldn't put it in my top 10 animated movies of all time. That's why I said you definitely love it a lot more than I do. But I greatly enjoy the first Incredibles. I saw it in the theaters back in 2004 when I was one of those
Yeah.
youngsters.
Yep. Me too.
And so, you build it up, you wait 14 years, does it deliver? Yes.
Yes and no. It's yeah. Overall, I think yes. Um, is it as good as the first? No.
I
I
don't think
mean,
it's on the same playing.
yeah, no.
It's
But I
it's the
mean, you
best Pixar sequel behind the Toy Story films. Not saying that that's
yeah, probably. I think the only ones I've seen are Finding Dory and Monsters University, which are both I
Toy
wouldn't call
Story.
either of them bad. Or sorry,
You say you've seen Toy
yeah.
Story 2 and 3, right?
Oh, wait, sorry. I meant other than those. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
Um, I don't even like count those as sequels because they just feel like movies that happen to be sequels. Um, but yeah. Well, yeah. This is your. It's not even. Well, yeah. I didn't put it on my list because it's a bit mainstream, and I thought you probably had it. But
Yeah, so like honestly, this was one of my most anticipated movies of the year. And I saw all the rave reviews come out and I thought, okay, I'm going to lower my expectations walking into this because I don't want to be disappointed. I want to like it. And I walked out and I thought to myself, it was fine.
exactly.
I didn't think that it was fine until the last act.
Oh, really?
So the movie starts off, and it's the action scene we always wanted to see as kids. It starts off directly after the first film in this absolutely incredibly amazing action scene with the Underminer.
Mhm.
It's that action scene I always wanted to see as a kid, and it fully delivered. And the movie goes on, and I'm engaged in with how they're using Elastigirl in the film, the way Bob is taking care of the kids. I thought there was great themes of family, great themes of identity. There was a feminist through line in the story that doesn't overtake what's happening, and I like how it presents two different stories. We have the feminist aspects of like men and women deserve to be equal, which I agree with. But then you have the extremists who think no, women deserve to be far above men. Men don't deserve to be on our level. And I thought that was handled so incredibly well. But we'll talk about the third act more in detail, but I did not. The third act almost derailed the entire film for me.
Oh, I thought you meant the third act brought it up for you.
No, 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 no.
Okay, that's why I was like, what?
It shot it down. It
Yeah,
shot it
agreed.
down.
Yep. And the third act in the first movie is so. I mean, everything in the first movie is great, but anyway, yeah, disappointing. But anyways, when I saw the trailer and it was obvious that Mr. Incredible was kind of sort of be sidelined for Elastigirl,
Hmm.
I was like, oh no, is this gonna be some like feminist in your face thing? But it actually makes sense. They say the reason they want Elastigirl is because historically she's responsible for less damages, which totally makes sense. Because like Frozone, in order to do anything, has to like freeze stuff. Mr. Incredible has to break stuff, but she just kind of like flips around and doesn't hurt anything. And I like totally bought it, so I appreciated that. Um,
And
The Jack Jack stuff is
uh, on the electrical stuff, I thought the train action sequence in the motorcycle scene with her was incredible.
oh, I love her motorcycle. I loved it.
It's like I love the way how it utilizes it with the powers. How it can split in half and she can stretch out and still right. I thought that was genius. I thought
I
that was
agree.
genius. But
Yeah,
yeah, the Bob and Jack Jack.
fine in there for the little kids. They have a good laugh. It was fine. The little raccoon fight was a little got a little bit tedious. I mean, at least it brought Edna into the movie because she's once again great, voiced by Brad Bird. Um,
See, I the co- one thing I will say, the comedy did not hit me that much in this film. Like all this, like
I think,
I liked Bob's arc in the movie a good deal, but I found Dash to be annoying.
mhm. Yeah, Dash kind of got sidelined in this movie.
He did not until the third act. Both I like what they did with Violet, but every time Dash said anything, I was like, "You're an annoying little shit."
Hmm.
And
Yeah, I
I
agree.
know that's how he's designed in the first film, but he has this charm to him, and he has this character arc that you mentioned talking about the first film, that ends the way you want it to in this film. He doesn't have anything to do.
And you would hope that in this film they would like mature his character and make him like still the same Dash, but like noticeably more like mature and trying to step up. But he's just the same annoying kid with less to
Yeah,
do and no arc, which is unfortunate.
and yeah, just and the stuff that they did with Violet, I think is very relatable. I think most of us have been in that type of situation before, not necessarily being on the girl perspective, but on the guy perspective. I'm shy as hell, so it's like, yeah, I can totally relate to what she's kind of going through right now.
But at the same time, that was her arc in the first movie. I I mean, I guess it was interesting how they had like Tony's mind get erased. Um,
Yeah,
but at the same time, that forced Violet's arc to be the exact same arc she had in the first movie, which, I mean, not the exact same, but
similar.
I don't know. Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't think of it like that, so I might have to revisit the first film for that.
Another thing that I guess, like, when this was happening in the movie, something seemed off. When I watched a review of the movie, it kind of clicked. Like, when Bob is watching Elastigirl, like, on the TV, he's, like, actively upset that she is, like, doing well.
Yeah,
And it's like, I understand he's like cocky and they're trying to make a statement about how men are like feel like women are like overpowering them or whatever. And I get that he's cocky, but at the same time, like you shouldn't be upset to talk to your wife who just like saved a train.
and
Like your ego should not be in the way of you being genuinely like excited for her. Like that
it's
was
like
just like,
his whole arc in the first film was becoming the dad, becoming the person who needs to support his family, who needs to realize he needs to leave that aspect of his life behind. And I thought he came off as an unlikable dick at times.
mm-hmm.
So disappointed how they reversed his character arc, only for him to do the same exact thing in this one.
It's like it was like Brad Bird is like, all right, let's see what made the first movie good. This was this character arc. This was this character, and it's like he just
He takes it away.
took he took every character a step back and then gave them the same step forward.
Speaking of like setbacks, what was one of the best parts about the first film? Syndrome.
Syndrome.
One of the most memorable villains. Look at that, you had me monologuing. Fantastic villain, you understand his backstory, you feel for his backstory. The villain is straight up garbage in this film.
Admittedly, when like the screenslaver was first introduced, I was kind of digging it,
Mm-hmm.
but then I don't know. I don't think it was handled very well.
See, the moment the villain walked on screen, I knew who the villain was.
Mm.
It was so blatantly obvious. Like, when you have Bud in a, you don't you think, oh, that's gonna be like a throwaway moment, and then they bring him back, and it's so unexpected. While in this film, it's so obvious who the villain is that it takes away the mystery for me. And yeah, like
And
all
like,
the screensaver stuff was like, oh, this is interesting. I like a lot of the dialogue for the character was good. I liked what the character was saying about people and society, but it didn't lead to anything.
exactly. It was like, oh, this is cool. And then they captured him. And then it sort of turned out, I mean, spoilers.
Yeah,
And then it turned out to be her. But I don't know. It just didn't seem like coherent.
it didn't know, and this really leads to my biggest issues. Like the first and second acts of this movie, I dug. They were flawed, but I dug.
I was like,
When
just finish drawing and I will be happy.
when we get to that boat, I stopped caring. I straight up was like, I am not into this movie at all. It it the third act almost ruins the first two acts for me because everyone's relearning the same thing. Oh no, like there are these random other superheroes that were introduced earlier, but I don't care about them because they look
Oh, I,
stupid.
I hated them all.
And
Except that guy that like barfed. He was funny. But everyone else sucked.
I like the Belfin guy. He had depth to himself. But no, I just we have the kids saving the adults, and it's not earned. Nothing really like when you have the end of the Incredibles, and Bob looks at Elastigirl, he shakes and says, "I can't lose you again." You understand his motivations 100%, and they feel like real people. And the entire film is building up to him saying that, admitting that he needs his family more than he needs this. Nothing hints at like the kids wanting to be the bigger people and having to save the adults. There's no character arc. It's just flashy, nonsensical nonsense with a cute baby.
Mm-hmm. Cannot agree more. Um, just like a dumb fight, dumb boat crashing into a dumb city. You don't care.
And like
Yeah.
the worst offense I think they had is like that boat incident. They're like, all right, superheroes illegal again. It's like, what? How
Mm-hmm.
did this act outweigh the end of the first Incredibles? How? In what way did this boat sequence outweigh the impact of the last fight in the first film? It doesn't. I thought that that was a cop out ending. I thought that it was not earned in any way, and it's honestly shit. The boat sequence at the end is almost shit, and it hurts me to say that because this is from Brad Bird, who made not only the first film, but Iron Giant, which is one of the top 10 animated films of all time.
Un-
Mission
undeniable.
Impossible 4, which redeemed the franchise. And I understand people's disliking with Tomorrowland and how that film kind of falls apart in the third act, but I still think that third act is earned.
I
Nothing
haven't seen it.
in the third act of this film is earned
And
in sense
Ratatouille
of the
also.
word.
Um, yeah, he also did Ratatouille. But
Oh, that's right, he did do Ratatouille. That's also pretty good.
which for me is like average Pixar. Well, maybe above average. It's like average of the ones that don't suck.
I mean, does
um,
Pixar have many films that suck? No.
oh no, but
Well,
sucks to try to
maybe A
excuse.
Bug's Life.
But anyways, really back to the villain. Like Syndrome is great, and the thing is, like he doesn't need to rely on any gimmicks like to be great.
Mm-mm.
Like in this movie, the villain depends on you. Like when the reveal happens, like the writers are hoping that we'll be shocked and that we'll be like, "Oh, what a great villain!" But you don't feel that. Whereas Syndrome, there was no like mystery. Like, sure, there's a reveal where he reveals that he's Buddy, but it's not really a reveal because it's it's him the whole time. And the reason Syndrome is so great is because he has that history with Mr. Incredible, where Mr. Incredible remembers how he threw him out of the car, he didn't have the time for him, and that directly relates to Or later, where Syndrome's killing all the supers, Mr. Incredible can feel guilt because they have that relationship. Whereas in this movie, the villain's just like a gimmick. It's like, oh, did you guess it was her? Did you? Did you? Well, it was. And like, there's no history. And they introduced that backstory where the dad made the phone line to the supers, which I guess sort of works, but not really. I don't know. Yeah, I do appreciate though that Bob Odenkirk was not the villain because I thought he was gonna be.
Oh yeah, but the moment the sister came on, I'm like, oh, of course it's a sister.
Yeah,
Bob Odenkirk, you know.
he was fine.
Yeah, but I think we got everything out we wanted to say about The Incredibles 2.
I
Some,
feel like we were a little overly harsh on it. It's fine. If I had to give
yeah,
it one word, it's fine. Like for me, it's like a 7 out of 10. It's like
yeah.
it's the definition of fine. Just
Like
disappointing,
the
but
thing
fine.
with Incredibles 2, the short film is better than Incredibles 2 that played before it.
Oh yeah, that was kind of weird, but once I understood like the metaphor, I was moved.
I loved it. I loved that short film. There was like the Piper short film and from Finding Dory, where I thought to myself, wow, the short film in front of it has more heart, more depth, in like a 6 minute time period, and it completely blew me away. I loved that short film.
Yeah.
Loved it. But yeah, that was my number seven. So I've got one more after this.
All right, I'll go into my number 7. So there's a couple of documentaries that I saw this year, and I
Okay.
guess this counts. So the one I decided I would talk about just for a little bit is the Mr. Rogers documentary, Won't You Be My Neighbor, which came
I
out.
have wanted to see this ever since I saw John Campion's review of it.
It's still at Railroad. Actually, thing is, like, when my family saw it, they accidentally bought my ticket for me, so I didn't even get to use my movie pass. So
Mm-hmm.
I like still have a free. Yeah, maybe we could go together sometime
Maybe.
because I'm willing to see it again because I will say um, it's definitely worth seeing, especially if you watch the TV show. I don't know if you ever did, like as a kid.
I never heard about the TV show until I saw the film being marketed.
It's probably worth like I think they have some free episodes on YouTube. They're only like 15 minutes long or something. I
Yep.
think it's worth watching, just maybe like one, just so you can kind of get the gist. But so basically, Fred Rogers was just this guy. I think he was going to be like a minister, but then TV came out and he looked at it and said, "You know what? Screw being a minister. I want to make a difference in children's TV." Because until he came along, all children's programming was just like cartoons and explosions and like bad cartoons, basically. And it just goes into his process and like him wanting to make a show for kids where basically any kid could watch it and feel at home. Um, and it just delves into his life and his process and his struggles. Um, and actually, like out of the like I saw it with my family, and I think I actually liked it the least, which is kind of strange. I just thought, even though like he was great and the footage was great, I guess I thought the like editing like was a little maybe sloppy. I feel like it could have been put together better, like as a documentary. But in terms of subject matter, it was really moving.
That's
So
what
yeah,
that I've heard that the documentary is like watching John Campius. The film actually made him cry, and it's not because
yeah.
crying because it's so sad, but just because of how moving it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I know one scene like there's there's a scene with a gay man.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Rogers looks at him knowing he's gay and says, "I." Does he say something like, "I love you for who you are"?
Mm-hmm. And he says like, "I'd never had a man tell me like Mr. Rogers wasn't gay, but
Mm-hmm.
just like having another man just say like, yeah, and like gay man just like broke down like in the middle of the interview, and you like really felt it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just like
From the
yeah,
looks of it, this movie is gonna win the Oscar for best documentary at this point. Like 99
Probably. I
tomatoes.
don't. Yeah, RBG is the other one that I saw. I don't see that winning. I've yet to see the Three Identical Strangers, which is the movie about the triplets that get separated at birth. Um, but I agree. This is definitely the front runner at this point.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. So my final. So I think it'd be a bit sad if I didn't mention my number eight, just because this is the only movie we've seen together this year.
I was wondering.
Sicario.
Yeah,
Did you mention Sicario on your list, or did you figure I?
I I figured you would have it.
Okay.
There's a lot of movies that are like borderline. Like basically, I have my top two, and then I was like kind of struggling to find ones to put on.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to make decisions like I can either have Sicario 2, for example, or Wouldn't You Be My Neighbor? And I picked Won't You Be My Neighbor. Or I could have Deadpool 2 or Isle of Dogs, and I picked. I generally
Yeah,
picked the
like
one I knew.
I dropped Solo because I knew you hadn't seen Solo yet, and I just put Deadpool 2 in its place. Plus, I don't want to talk about Solo for more than like 5 minutes because I can't remember anything from that film much.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sicario 2. So I saw the first film, I think, a week before I saw this one. And,
Oh well.
the movie is hailed to be amazing, incredible, and I thought to myself, that was a well directed, good movie.
Hmm.
With
I agree.
an amazing performance of Benicio del Toro, who steals that movie.
Hmm. And Emily Blunt.
Emily Blunt is really good. But to me, the movie didn't hit me the way I really wanted it to. I guess that's my biggest issue.
Hmm.
I thought a lot about this. I think Sicario 2 is better than the first.
Wow.
I really do. I borderline love this movie. And I think that the fact that it's at like 65% on Rotten Tomatoes is a crime. I think people have completely. I think this movie is misunderstood. I think that this movie is powerful. It has so many brilliant things in what they're telling about society in today, between the battle with the cartel on the border, the way kids getting involved in this way of life, how that can affect them and their families. And the best decision they made is that they decided, okay, Emily Blunt's story is finished. Let's take the two best characters from the first film, Benicio del Toro and Josh Brolin, and let's have them lead this movie. And
Mm.
I bought every Benicio del Toro is incredible. I love Josh Brolin. I love how they're not the good guys. They are people who are willing to do incredibly awful, inhumane things to get what they need, and they will not care what they do to you. And I think this movie is the movie is unflinching in the way it depicts violence, in how it depicts, in a lot of ways, the U.S. today.
Yeah. And all right. Yeah, I agree where the first one, especially being a Denis Villeneuve movie, whereas like Prisoners and Arrival and Blade Runner 2049, not only are they like so well made where you can appreciate it, but they also like hit me.
Mm-hmm.
And Sicario, I can give it all the same merits as I can give those movies, but I cannot honestly say that I like would go back to it like constantly because like the whole Welcome to Suarez sequence, um, as like fantastic as it is, it doesn't like hit me. But anyways, would I say the second one is better than the first? That's tough to say. I'd probably say they're close. I think the first is maybe a little bit better. Um, I know a lot of the negative reviews were along the lines of um, this movie just like abandoned the subtlety that the first movie kind of championed in favor of just like in your face violence, which I don't think is bad necessarily. It's just a different kind of movie.
It is a
And it makes
kind of movie.
and it would make sense that the first movie being the introduction should be more subtle and um, more like threatening, and then the second movie is where they really just like dive into it because it makes sense. The first movie is about Emily Blunt becoming exposed so it's obviously going to be more subtle in her sort of learning it. Whereas the
Mm-hmm.
second movie, I mean, these two characters, Benicio del Toro and Josh Brolin, I mean, they've already been in this shit.
Yep.
So having that same sort of mysterious tone wouldn't really work in this movie. So I think those complaints are not well founded. But yeah, this movie does not pull punches.
Like
Um,
there were moments of violence where I thought to myself, I am so glad they put that on screen, not because I was enjoying it, but just because of the brutality of it.
mhm.
In a lot of we can discuss a moment that happens at the end that really stretches beyond believability.
Suspension of disbelief
Yeah,
was yeah.
but no, I wish we didn't see this movie as late as we did because I was getting tired, not because of the film, but just because it was so late at night for me.
No, I had the same problem. I
But
was like, darn, this is good, but I almost want it to end, but I because I'm so tired, but I feel guilty for thinking that. So
because like this movie, it's so well shot. Like it has the feel of Denis Villeneuve's vision, the slow camera angles, the slow pacing, and a lot of the complaints to the film is that it's like two movies in one. And like if you don't buy the change, then you don't like it. I loved the change. I loved what they did with this movie, what they did with Benicio del Toro and the kid. I thought that it was the best way to go. Divert it subverts expectations. It gives Benicio and Josh Brolin two different storylines that are equally compelling, so they have the own thing to do, but ultimately does connect to the end. And
uh,
sequences like the big shootout on the border, amazing. I thought the sound design was impeccable. It was tension filled. I was completely immersed in that sequence.
I think I mentioned to you on the car ride home, right before that happens, there's another one of the like obviously best sequence in the first movie is like the police escort
Oh my
scene.
god, yeah.
And in this movie, there's like a aerial shot of like a bunch of police SWAT vans like forming
Hmm.
up, and it's like such a cool shot, and it's like you just know you're about to be in for some.
If I
I
had to
mean,
like that's one of the five best shots of the year, if not the best shot. Like it's so good. It's so cool. And I feel weird that I'm like so passionate about this film and most people aren't.
yeah,
Cause like
um,
I feel like the way they tell a story in a way like we have these kids in the movies. None of them are annoying by the slights. The girl in the beginning was a bit
oh,
ham-fisted. She gives an amazing performance by the end of the film. You completely buy
yep,
the character change in the event she's seen has like mentally destroyed her. But the way the cartel uses children, the way the US uses children in these despicable and awful ways, it's it's haunting.
mhm.
And
And it's sort of like it's relevant now too a little bit.
it really is. And it's like people say, "Oh, it doesn't have any sense of subtlety." It does have subtlety in it. I truly argue like there are political undertones with the way it's talking about maybe the certain president we have right now, who I will not get into because of politics, and
Mm.
the way that it has like commentary on the U.S. border. I think all of it is done so incredibly well. I seriously think this movie is the most misunderstood film I've seen. Up to, like I can understand people laughing at the end of Hereditary. I can get that. I
Yeah,
see people saying, "Oh, Avengers: Infinity War doesn't necessarily have the best story and it doesn't have a whole lot going on." But it's like you you don't get it. You just I hate saying that, but I don't think they really got what the film was doing or saying. I should say.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think I need to see this one again.
I
Um,
I want to see it again. I 110% want to see this again.
but at the same time, I also don't feel like I need to see it again. Like I'm not like dying to see it again,
Mm-hmm.
which I guess is a flaw. Like presumably Sicario 3 will be here in 2 or 3 years. and then I'll probably go revisit both films.
Yep.
Um,
So I think this is a good time to get at least the spoiler, the big spoiler in the film. So spoiler
yeah.
warning. This is gonna be awful editing, having to put in all these spoiler warnings. I'm realizing. Three, two, one. How do you get that lucky getting shot in the face?
Yeah, that was definitely a moment of like I have mixed feelings about that because like in the moment, like when he gets shot in the face, like no one is expected to believe he could be alive. Like for
I thought they genuinely killed him off.
oh yeah, and like what I'm saying is when you see him get shot, that's the only thing you could think.
Mm-hmm.
Like no one was thinking, oh, it perfectly went through his mouth. Like no one was thinking that, but it did apparently. Which I mean,
I don't know. It's
take it or leave it.
the movie has such a good like good sense of like reality and being believable that just stretched the realm of believability so much. Like I didn't hate it because I'm glad Benicio del Toro is still alive. He can still have his franchise. He can still train that kid that shot him to be another hitman or Sicario or whatever. But it's like what's the percentage that would actually happen getting shot perfectly between going between both of your cheeks. Like, how? What is the possibility of that? That's like Doctor Strange in Infinity War, given the different probabilities of like it's like no.
Doctor Strange saw 10 million possible ways that he could get shot, and he picked the one, so it went straight through his mouth.
Yeah, right. That's my only big qualm with Sicario 2 is like,
And
oh
yeah, I see like why they did it, and I really appreciated the aftermath of it, where him having to survive and get to the car and like drives to the city or whatever.
the scene where he throws the grenade in
But
that car was awesome, by the way.
oh yeah, that was awesome. But they could have had all that without having the reveal of him being alive. Like looking back on it, what I wish they had done is left him in a situation where he's like bleeding to death or something, but still alive, and they just assume he's gonna die, but he's able to like like self castrate himself or something like that.
Yeah.
I would have liked that more. I would have preferred it being he's probably gonna die. They think he's gonna die, but he's able to keep himself alive, rather than he's dead 10 minutes later. Just kidding, he's not.
Hmm.
I thought that was a little bit cheap.
Yeah, yeah, no. Like again, the scene itself is ridiculous. Am I happy that we might get a Sicario 3? I am. I would like to see this turn into a franchise.
Imagine if he came back.
If Benicio doesn't come back, I'm done with the franchise. I don't care.
No, no, no. I said imagine if Denis comes back.
Oh,
Villeneuve.
if Denis came, oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, if Denis came back and directed that, people like, oh, it's better than Sicario 2, man, because Denis Villeneuve is gonna transform the franchise into this life changing experience like the first film. It's like,
Although if Denis did come back, that would show that he actually enjoyed the second one enough to feel like the franchise was deserving of him coming back,
yeah,
which maybe would in turn make people revisit this movie and actually like appreciate it more. But anyway, he's not coming back.
yeah.
But,
All right, but that's Sicario 2. That's my last film.
yep. Written by shit, Taylor Sheridan. So I
Yep.
think that's part of why it, even though Denis not there, it does feel like a sequel, and I'm glad that he was able to stay on. So the last movie that I decided that I would mention really quickly um, was a movie that I saw yesterday, which maybe is not actually deserving of being on this list, but I thought I'd put it in anyway because I know you hadn't seen it. So this movie's called Hearts Beat Loud.
Is
It's
that with
a
Nick Offerman?
yeah, that's Nick Offerman and a
Yep.
girl that I don't know her name.
I
Um,
saw a review from Collider. That's the only reason I've heard about this film.
what do they think about it?
Scott Mans reviewed it and he loved it.
Okay. Yeah, it's a feel-good movie. It's about a father and a daughter. Um, Basically, the father was in a band with the girl's mother, um, but then the mom died, and the father's always sort of held on to this idea, like he wants to be in a band. And the daughter is like extremely talented, and they start a band, but then the daughter has to go off to college. Um, and it's very funny. It's very touching. The music that's there is good, but there's a little bit, it's a little bit lacking in terms of like quantity. Like I think there's only like 4 songs in this movie. Um,
So it's like La La Land.
this movie is not does not touch La La Land.
I'm just making the joke, like, it's
I know.
probably, yeah.
Yeah, La La Land has like 4 songs in the first like 20 minutes. But,
Yeah.
well, I don't. But anyways, um, yeah, the problems I have with this movie is there's some like storytelling slash editing things where like so, it just doesn't really seem to like come together in some parts. Um, I guess this could sort of be considered a spoiler, but like I mentioned, there's like 4 songs in the entirety of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
and like 3 of them happen like back to back to back, which is like really
Oh,
which is like which I see like why it had to be like that, but at the same time, like this movie reminded me of Sing Street.
okay.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, so I've seen Sing Street.
But at the same time, I like love Sing Street, and like while I was watching this, it like both reminded me of Sing Street and made me wish that I was watching Sing Street.
I'm gonna say the only reason I really saw Sing Street was because you told me and you wouldn't stop shutting up, telling me you need to watch Sing Street. Please watch Sing Street, Robbie. Sing Street is the best thing since Jesus coming down.
Right? Did you like it?
I like Sing Street. I loved it the first time I watched it. It hasn't necessarily stuck with me a whole lot since.
Yeah, I watched it the second time, and unfortunately, it was not as good as the first time.
Like I think the driver like you stole it moment, like that has to be like one of the top 10 movie moments of 2016 for me, as well as
Mm.
pure joy in it. But I think the film as a whole is good. It's fun, it's enjoyable, but I don't love it like everyone else seems to.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, Hearts Beat Round is a nice little feel good comedy, sort of drama. Got some good music in it. I can see why people love it. I just personally thought it wasn't like exceptional or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I thought I'll I'll throw it in my list. It's deserving.
Okay.
So with that, we have named our top, or not top, but
All right.
well, top in no particular order.
Yep. So this is gonna be the section I'm gonna nickname the crowning section, where we give our top 3 films of the year: bronze, silver, and gold. And Van, I'm gonna let you take it first. What is your bronze, silver, and gold?
So for me, the drama's in the 3 spot. Um, Basically, my top two. Well, actually, the order of my top two was like hard to figure out. But as for which films are there, it was a no-brainer. But my
Mhm.
number three, I mean, there's so many movies that could make my three, and I have a feeling that by the end of the year, my number three won't even be on my top 10 anymore,
Oh
just
no,
because just because I do have that much of a drop off, and I have so many movies that are coming out later that I'm sure will probably beat them out. So the movie that I did decide to make number three was Death of Stalin.
Mhm.
Um, um, yeah, I already talked about this movie a little bit. Just really creative humor,
Oh, I
really
thought
different
Death of
humor.
Stalin was gonna be in your top 2.
Oh no,
Oh wow, okay. Sorry, go
yeah,
on though. Okay, that's surprising. That's a good surprise.
yeah, really creative humor, um, smartly written, really well acted. Um, yeah, just like a different kind of comedy that, um, yeah.
Okay.
So one versus two. One of these movies, basically, this battle between one and two was like pure ambition and like splendor and just like in your face epic awesomeness versus subtle, perfectly crafted, beautifully done, like best artistic like movie I've seen all year. And I'll just say it. My number two movie as of right now, I need to see it again, but it's Hereditary.
Okay.
This easily could have been my number one movie, but I'll explain why it's not later. I mean, I absolutely love this movie. Uh, I mean, we've already talked about this a lot. It builds tension so expertly from the first second of the movie all the way to the end. And then I know you said you didn't like the ending, but I think the ending is earned. I think it's genuinely.
It could grow on me. I definitely plan on rewatching it. I want to revisit it. Maybe it gets better for me on the second viewing, but
Um, I mean, there's so many just freaky things in this movie. I mean, we didn't even talk about maybe my favorite sequence in the movie, where she wakes up. This is spoilers. She wakes up with ants crawling on her, and then it
oh,
and and then it turns into her walking into her son's room, and then she reveals something to him, and then all of a sudden they're covered in gasoline, and I'm like, I'm like, just getting excited just like thinking about the sequence. But anyways, yeah, Hereditary. I It like saddens me that this movie was accepted the way that it was commercially. Um, yeah, I definitely expect this movie to be in my top 10 by the end of the year. I would be very
mhm.
surprised if it does not. Um, and then my number one movie is obviously Infinity War. Um, in terms of just being like a movie, like artistically and um, like on all the merits that you would generally judge a movie on, Hereditary is better in my opinion than Infinity War. And it was so hard to make this choice, but I can just not get over how darn impressive Infinity War is.
So can we? We've been doing it for a long time. Let's. I do it for myself too. Let's go as fast as we can. Let's just really wrap this up now.
Yeah, so yeah, there's my three: Death of Stalin, Hereditary, Infinity War.
Okay. Bronze for me is Black Panther. I have a lot of issues with the third act, but I think that it's incredibly strong, really well acted, politically charged. My bronze really came down to like Hereditary is up there, A Quiet Place, and Incredibles 2 were up there. But for me, it's the three act structure just really falling apart. And Black Panther, I think I had the least issues with Black Panther's third act. You just gave me the funniest look there. Um,
Why
my
is that,
my
Rob?
uh, my silver goes to Sicario 2. Completely misunderstood. I will be if it's not in my top 10, it will be an honorable mention. Number one is of course Infinity War, epic in scope, just incredible.
Mm.
And
So do we
we have
do we do like a joint top 10 or top three
no
or
no
no?
no no no.
Just personal. All right.
Yeah,
Well, either way, Infinity War is the undenied champion. So yeah, this was a lot of
Van,
fun.
this was fun. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing this. This is probably gonna get like no views whatsoever.
If anyone is listening and has stuck around this long, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope maybe
that idea I want to do about a possible ranking, like that one, I don't know how long that one will go on for, but I'll have a lot more control with that one.
yeah. And that one will like definitely not spend as much time
Yeah,
on the individual film.
but so thank you for joining, Van.
Yeah,
I definitely plan on doing more of these. So if you want to ever jump in, if I have an idea that you're interested in, I'll ask you definitely. I think that we have a good dynamic back and forth and differing
yeah.
opinions that add to a conversation. So those of you who listen, I don't know why you are, but thank you. And hopefully I'll see you guys next time.